Welcome to Cartoonist by Night. I am your host, Anthony Laatsch. Like comics, I too will break your heart. I am joined here by Matt Fife, who, just like comics, will also break your heart. Plus, we have Matt Rodgers, who you would imagine, like comics, would also break your heart. And then there is Troy, who is just happy to be here to break your heart, just like comics. Welcome to another episode of Cartoonist by Night. This episode, if you read the title, you'll see it's all about Jack Kirby. So here we go. Welcome to Cartoonist by Night. This is going to be an episode all about Jack the King Kirby. And while he can't be here with us, this will be the best way he can. Here
Ooh,
Oh,
is
nice.
that's cool.
an awesome bus that it's very rare, and it took a long time to track one down at a decent price because I think it's the only kind of merchandise that exists for Jack Kirby as far as like a doll, an action figure, a statue. But yep, so here he is.
Can I see his signature real quick? Okay, cool.
There it is. All right,
He-
so
So Jack Kirby was a real guy?
he was a real guy. Legends have it that he was
Kind of like Paul Bunyan and Pecos Bill.
Who?
Very real.
exactly. So
What about
Jack
the
Kirby,
Loveland Frog?
Molly Hatchet, also real. Yeah.
So for
My
those
word.
that don't know who Jack Kirby is, listening at home, watching at
Yeah.
home, basically one of the best artists who had ever lived. Basically created superhero comics and everything you like in the Marvel movies and all the designs and the characters and everything that the Marvel universe would become all came from the brain and the pencil of Jack Kirby. He is the artist, and he is the one that often doesn't get the credit that he has deserved, especially when it comes, past his life here. He had passed away in 1994, but he lived a long life, and he left behind a long list of creations that he himself had even talked about how it's going to go on to the further centuries beyond him. He has says that in an interview before, and that was before a little thing called the MCU. So there's a lot of stuff that Jack Kirby has created. So throughout this episode, we're going to start talking about that. I think some of it will originate from what we will be drawing here today. All four of us are going to be sketching along and talking along and just kind of talking about Jack Kirby. And I think the original inspiration for this episode came from Troy, because when talking about doing a specific creator centric episode, so far we've done Oh Yeah Comics, which we talked about the creators and such, but Oh Yeah Comics is a brand and characters. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we did Archie, we did Happy Astronaut. We've done all of these themed episodes, and as we started talking about, when we dip into other artists to focus on, Troy was the one, I think, waving the flag and loud and proud and saying Jack Kirby should be the first one we start with. So I'm going to throw it over to you as far as why you ended up saying that, why we're all here today, why you think Jack Kirby should be the first artist centric episode. Your thoughts?
Well, Jack Kirby, like you said in your introduction, he sort of created the superhero genre of comics. So we think of like the Marvel, what do they call it? Like the Marvel movement, or the Marvel age of comics is what they were calling it back in the 60s, right? So the story goes like Stan Lee gets to this point where he's ready to quit, and he says, or his wife says to him, well, why don't you, before you quit, do something that you would like to do it the way you'd like to do it.
His wife,
And
Joni.
the product, Joni, yeah. The product of that was the Fantastic Four, which is very, very similar to a comic that Jack Kirby did called Challengers of the Unknown. He just gave them specific powers, but they were space traveler adventure like a group. And so like I kind of feel like it was more like, screw it, I quit. Jack, do what you want to do. And Jack's like, okay, Stan, I'm gonna do this thing that I had in mind for the challenges. And so he did it, and then it was a hit, and Stan Lee's like, oh, I can exploit this. Yes, I
That's
invented
mine.
this. It's mine.
I'm
And
gonna have to interrupt you there. I'm gonna have to interrupt you there, Jack, because you wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me, because I am your father.
oh, geez, Stan, if you could please just shut up for one moment.
Now, I want the viewers and the other members here at the show to know this is the first time we've heard the Jack Kirby impression. You just threw that out there. I don't know if you've had that prepared, but you have not used that, and I like it because I don't have one.
No, I have not prepared it. I just have a wonderful Cartoonist by Night mug that inspires me
So now there's
every time I take a sip.
Now there's two people in the world who have a Jack Kirby impression. Cartoonist by Night's very own Troy, as well as John Suntress of Word Balloon. I thought he was the only one, but hey, now we have a second one.
I think
He
Rob
does.
Liefeld has one too.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
he does a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what mine sounds like outside of my head. So, but I know John Suntress is really good.
Yeah. Every time I'm in the presence of John, I mention that, and then he just jumps right into it and does a little impression for me, and I'll hear the same thing every time. It's like hearing the a band's greatest, number one hit. But
Yeah. Well, moving on from that. So,
yeah.
started with the Fantastic Four, and I don't know the order in which these things came. I wasn't even a glimmer in my parents' eye at the time. So, you got the Fantastic Four. Him and Joe Simon had created. They created the Challengers of the Unknown, but they created Captain America. They brought that over. They added the Avengers. So, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. What
X-Men.
was he called? Goliath? Was Ant-Man called Goliath at the beginning?
I think he started as Ant-Man, but he would eventually be Goliath. I could be wrong, but I think it was because
Okay.
Ant-Man was like 1962, I think, or 3 maybe.
Yeah, so either Ant-Man or Goliath, whatever they called him, the Wasp. Anthony, at one point you had mentioned it's easier to name characters that he didn't do than it is to name characters
Yeah,
that he
whenever
did do.
whenever I talk to a friend who is a fan of the movies or the shows or anything like that, and I always make it a point because it's very easy to see Stan Lee with the cameos, and he was always the front man and the great promoter, and he was out there on the front lines promoting and getting the word out there. And then I would always mention Jack Kirby, and I'd always say basically he didn't create Deadpool, Wolverine. Those are like the first and quote unquote Spider-Man, because there's a little asterisk after that one. But when it comes to telling the stories of Spider-Man and all that stuff, so I always say Deadpool, Wolverine, and Spidey. Like if you want to like grab like 3 of the most iconic like Marvel faces, and then everything else is mostly Jack. So
Yeah, he didn't create Doctor Strange
correct.
Yeah,
or Daredevil. So
Daredevil?
that was
Oh yeah,
that was Joe Simon and Wally Wood.
for Daredevil.
So,
I think Wally Wood came in and freshened it up.
did he? Who
Yeah, I think
Who
so.
created Daredevil?
I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but
I could tell you. Well, I created Daredevil because when I was a young boy, I was holding a canister full of turtles and I was trying to cross the street when a giant tanker tipped over, hit me. I got spilled with a bunch of liquid and my turtles fell down the sewer drain. And that's when I created Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Excelsior!
I like it better when he says egg salad at the end.
As we go through this episode, we will eventually be, diving deep. We've definitely alluded to it when the whole idea, before we get into this, let's jump into the drawings because then we can talk about it as the drawings are happening. So every time I ask Troy first, he always says, I don't know. I'm going to start with Rodgers because we can see something's happening over there.
Real quick, It's credited to Bill Everett and Stan Lee. So not.
Okay. I think Wally Wood came in at like issue 5 of Daredevil.
So maybe Wally Wood gave him the outfit that he is known for, because he started out as sort of like a yellow.
Yeah, I love that
Yellow
outfit, but he made it red. I think he added the ninja. Might have been Frank Miller. The Billy Clubs. I don't know.
Okay. Might have been 40 years later. I'm not sure.
I think Charlie Cox created Daredevil, right?
Hmm.
Ben
No,
Affleck.
it was Frank Miller.
Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner created Daredevil, I think.
Definitely. And Stanley.
Yes. Of course, right. I created the TV show Alias. Jumping over to Rodgers because he's been doing stuff in the background there. When it comes to Jack Kirby and your subject matter, what are we going to be looking at here?
I'm drawing the Fantastic Four without looking at any references.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So we'll see how this goes. This is the Thing. Because he's sad, right?
There's a lot of times
sadness, yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, this is gonna be the Human Torch.
No.
And that's what's the lead guy's name? Reed
Richards.
Reed Richards.
Mr. Fantastic.
I don't have a lot of experience with the Fantastic Four.
I think this will be a fun experiment watching as going on, especially without reference. I think it'll be a good study. Jumping over to Matt Fife, jumping into this Jack Kirby episode. What is your topic for your drawing today?
Let's see if.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. Dr. Doom.
Victor Von Doom.
I've had this Marvel Legends action figure for 20 years. Because
I love it.
And yeah, I'm gonna draw Mr. Doom.
A little sidebar.
It's pencils, but it's going. It's a little sketch card. We'll see.
Cool. As a little sidebar, because I've been all my knowledge of Jack Kirby comes from everybody else's stories. You know, the man had passed away when I was in early middle school.
You were still in your Pampers back then.
That's right, and I just even have some now too. I just picked up a new box.
I invented Pampers.
I invented poop in your pants.
I wanted them to be called Stampers.
Stampers. Nice.
Now, we've done a couple of these already, so I want to get it out there. This is going to be a topic of discussion of Jack Kirby versus Stan Lee. And I'll get into it as we're drawing so we can actually get into that mode. I love Stan Lee. I love Stan the Man Lee. But I can also recognize a lot of the controversy when it comes to that. So I want to get that out before we go further on that. So we'll get there.
If I can interject, because I did start out with kind of poking fun at Stan Lee. Without him, there would be no MCU. There would probably have never been spinner racks in grocery stores. He was the promoter, the cheerleader. He took credit where credit was not due. That's absolutely true. However, the role that he played in promotion and all of that was absolutely unparalleled in any industry for one person to spearhead a movement to bring something from only like the nerds to straight up part of pop culture. That's without him that would not have happened. So Stan Lee definitely deserves an applause and all that. I'm not crapping on Stan Lee.
I want to get that.
Yeah. So I apologize. Didn't mean for that to come across like, let's crap on Stan Lee today. No, it's
it's good to get it out there. Yep.
Yeah, he did Jack Kirby wrong famously. And this is a Jack Kirby story, and it wouldn't be right if we did a Jack Kirby story without mentioning that he deserves more credit than what he got, certainly in his life.
For anybody
So,
who notices this is possibly a 2-hour video, whatever it's going to be, it's good to get that all out in Front Street there about that, rather than like, oh, it's just going to be this one thing. So, uh, going back to the Doctor Doom thing, so I was just watching some random Jack Kirby stuff and just looking at things I've never seen before. And there's a great like 25-minute video of him just drawing Doctor Doom I'd never seen before, and it's just on his sketchboard, and it's just you just hear other dialogue going on. I don't even know the context of where they were, but yeah, so I got a little excited there when I saw Doctor Doom pop up there. It's knowing that Fife here is going to outdo. I think that's what your plan is, right? To replace Jack Kirby. Is that what you're
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatnot.
Jumping over to Troy, because you did show us a quick setup for your drawing there. Do you know what you're going to draw for us today?
I am gonna wait until I see what everyone else is doing because I don't want to duplicate. I was just kind of lining it up so that I had it in focus is all.
Then I am going to cut over to my share screen. So if this is anybody's first episode of Cartoonist by Night, first of all, welcome. But also, I like to prepare my pencils for running the show, and I don't want to have an hour and a half of me just trying to figure it out. I'm not as fast paced and skilled as the other artist here, so I like to kind of come a little bit prepared. And so I am going to show off once I get this connected. Okay, so the Zoom and my iPad are not cooperating today, so I'm going to go back to just showing off my screen. So this will be my drawing now, going into Jack Kirby and figuring there's a million characters to choose from when Jack Kirby's the topic of your drawing. And if people know me, they'll know that I love the Silver Surfer. And Silver Surfer is my favorite superhero character. And Jack Kirby is the sole creator of the Silver Surfer. I'll get into that a little later as we're drawing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to draw Silver Surfer, but Troy, hold on, Troy, come back, Troy. It's not going to be the surfer you think. So I have my board here. Here we go. I used a classic Jack Kirby drawing as a reference for the angle and just one of the most classic Silver Surfer images. But yeah, this is who's on the surfboard. It is none other than Jack the King Kirby surfing through the cup.
That is cool.
Nice.
So there's my pencil.
That's really cool.
I was pretty happy with it when I started it. It was looking really weird, and I'm just like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And it hit me eventually where I'm just like, I'm drawing Jack as the Silver Surfer, meaning I'm drawing Jack being 6'5". I'm having him have long, muscular arms and legs, and I'm like, wait, that's not how I should be drawing Jack, not drawing Jack in the same pose as the surfer, because the surfer is it's just a being that there's probably not other than Doug Jones, not too many people can replicate the Silver Surfer physique. So I'm like, once I realized that, and all of a sudden I was off to the races, and there's my pencils for Jack the King Kirby.
That is a really cool concept. I like it.
So the Silver Surfer is still open. Yes.
I don't know who Doug Jones is.
Doug Jones is the actor who portrayed the Silver Surfer physically for the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer movie. He's also he's Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies.
He's also the water creature from The Shape of Water.
And then he's a million other water creatures in Guillermo del Toro movies. He's also from Hocus Pocus. He's done a ton of TV. He has just like a huge long. He is the Moon Man from McDonald's. If you remember in the 90s, that giant moon.
Mac Tonight.
Mac Tonight. He's Mac Tonight. He did those commercials.
Wow.
Doug
The thing that's
Jones.
crazy is you'll look at him like just being himself, and you have no idea who the hell you're looking at because he's
I
not
got to meet
covered in
him. He
stuff.
is one of the nicest people ever, and he is super awesome. And you look at his list and being like, this dude has done everything. So Doug Jones is the Silver Surfer.
I thought that was like all CGI. I didn't realize there was an actual person
Like he
like
did. I
covered
mean,
in paint.
he's doing all the motion capture, like the actual body, every bend, everything that's going on. That's his body. So,
That's cool.
and if anybody,
I had go ahead. Sorry.
all I was gonna say is if
No,
anybody,
go ahead.
yep, if anybody comes across, one of those giant Silver Surfers that are in comic shops that used to be a movie display and stuff, that exists because of Doug Jones. So
Those
Did
are cool.
Kirby get credit for that for Silver Surfer in that movie, or did it go to Stan and Jack?
probably both. I would have to double check, but probably they both probably got it. So,
Okay,
but
I've never
anyway,
seen it, but
that's my topic, and then we want to get Troy up and running. So, what are you gonna do?
Well, Stan was credited with the first 100 issues, and Silver Surfer, um, he debuted in 50 or 52, something like that.
48.
48. I feel like I knew that. I don't know why I
The Galactus
didn't have the confidence to do it.
the Galactus
Go ahead.
trilogy. The Galactus trilogy is 48, 49, 50 for that classic 3-issue debut. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I would imagine that Stan would almost require credit on that, but
and I'll get
um,
into those details, but as far as what you're drawing, do you know what you're doing now that we you kind of see what we're all doing?
I really want to draw the Silver Surfer.
And I'm not drawing
Um,
it, so he's open.
Are you making Jack silver?
No, I'm probably gonna draw him normal. So
What about like in the background have like instead of like a like a motion line coming behind the board, a rainbow, and then have Asgard in the back? That would be cool.
I definitely won't be able to fit that in this episode, but that's a post episode wrap up when you see the final art.
Okay.
I like that.
I want to give the Silver Surfer a shot. Rodgers' thing looks really cool back there.
Anyways, so as we're all setting things up here, we all have our characters going on. Talking about the Silver Surfer, the things I wanted to say was that in Fantastic Four number 48, doing comics the Marvel method, the Marvel way, for those people that don't know, is basically Jack Kirby getting kind of just very loose outlines on just the general plot points, or just kind of like, hey, this is the idea of the story, and because Stan was going through and plotting a lot of stories, and Jack is drawing a lot of those books, and that creative team was just pumping out so many comics throughout the 60s. And so it would get to the point that Jack Kirby was drawing Fantastic Four number 48, and he was given, I think, the instruction about creating like a godlike character, in which Galactus was that creation. I'm assuming it would just be as simple as creating a space god or something. So the creation of Galactus happened, but then Jack took it upon himself to not want to draw a giant spaceship, and realize rather than Galactus kind of going planet to planet and looking for his life force and sucking the energy and destroying these planets, he figured he would give Galactus a herald, and he created this little guy on a surfboard. And Jack Kirby had mentioned that he had seen, I think, on the news or in a newspaper um, about a California surfer who was very specifically talented, where he was just standing up straight on the surfboard. And I don't know if it was captured on the news or how that was, but at the era, that was 1966 that was happening, and Jack Kirby had talked about how he was just kind of in awe of this person that seemed to just be standing on a surfboard, and that would lead to him creating the Silver Surfer and putting him out in space and having a guy surfing the cosmos. And when those pages go back to Stan Lee would say, and let me grab this here, it'd be like, "Who's that nut on the surfboard? I didn't write him into the book." And that was a thing. I believe Stan did say that. Like there's audio of him saying that he didn't know who this nut was that Jack drew into the story. And that's when the creation of the Silver Surfer happened. I don't know if the name Silver Surfer came from Jack or if that is where Stan jumped in. Stan would then start dialoguing and then taking over when doing Surfer's first original series in 1968. And I think I said 68 earlier. I meant 66 for the Fantastic Four 48 and 68 for the Surfer book for the Surfer solo series. So in that regard, the Silver Surfer is a sole creation of Jack Kirby when it comes to like the online credits. But to kind of what Fife was asking, that I imagine, it probably just, it says Stan and Jack, but I will be excited to kind of look back to actually see if Jack is solely credited or not, like he is for like the Eternals. That was a single credit. I'm fairly certain in that movie that Jack was credited for that only because that was always Jack's baby. So, anyways,
his contract in the 70s was a lot different than his contract in the 60s.
Yeah.
And the 70s is when he created the Eternals, right?
That sounds right.
In the 60s, it was more work for hire. He's lucky he's getting any credit, that sort of thing. But the 70s, after they got him back from DC, I think he had a little bit more power, maybe.
Yeah,
I could have that wrong. I probably have everything wrong.
Just we'll just say it's true.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, that works.
So so Jack Kirby, I would say, like, as a young comic fan of getting into like DC Comics in the late 80s, and I wouldn't really discover Marvel until my friend Brian would move into town, a friend that I would eventually be the best man at his wedding. Recently hung on with him and his family, and so a friendship that's been going strong since '93. And when I met Brian, that's when we met because we had the same Batman lunchbox. And so he moved in from a different town, and we both had the same Batman lunchbox. So it's just like, well, we're best friends now, right? So we immediately became friends. And when we went over like to each other's houses and stuff, I would start to see his collection of action figures and start to see all of these Marvel characters that I honestly never really knew about. I can't really say if I knew who Spider-Man and Captain America was really prior to that. I think I maybe have mentioned my comic buying was exclusive to just picking things up at rummage sales and stuff. So I never really was in the know of comics, especially those who created them, especially at the age that I got into it. So I'd get into Marvel in the early '90s, but it probably wouldn't be till the late '90s when I would start learning not just Jack Kirby, but as well as Stan Lee. As much as his voice was in the back with the soapbox and all that kind of stuff, I was just somebody who picked up these superhero books, and I never really resonated with wondering who made. R.L. Stine might be the only person that I would ever like consume fiction from at a young age and just know that, oh, R.L. Stine. But anybody else who made anything, whether it was the Ninja Turtles or Archie or superheroes, that wouldn't come into, late high school probably for me. But yeah,
Do
so
you
go ahead.
do you remember who the first creator was that you're like, oh, this is not just like, you know, character specific. This is a creator specific fandom that you followed. Do you remember?
I'll say the one person that probably would answer that is somebody who I now later in life don't like talking about. I'll say his name just for the context, but Joss Whedon, being a big Joss Whedon fan and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and really start to follow, like, I guess George Lucas, he would be the exception to all of it, like, just with being a big Star Wars fan. But I think when it comes to Joss and creating Buffy and then Angel and all the stuff that would come after it, he would be the first creator that I really just took a hold to, and like just followed all of these multiple creations and stuff, and then that Joss brought me back into comics in the early 2000s with the Astonishing X-Men with John Cassidy, and that's what took me to a Comic-Con, and then I've been into comics hardcore ever since 2004 because of that. But yeah, Joss is something of a complicated, controversial discussion, and his actions aren't things that I am a big fan of. But it's one of those things that I don't speak too highly of him as a person beyond me liking his written work. But anyways, that's another episode.
Sure.
I
Well,
think it answered the question.
yeah, I don't know anything about Joss Whedon. I was sort of expecting you to have a comic book answer, but that's kind of cool that somebody from another medium brought you into comics. That's cool.
And that would be the one that, because I was into comics long before Buffy, but just with the casual picking things up. But it was Joss's entry into comics with the Astonishing X-Men in 2004, and him being on a Comic-Con circuit, and that's when I started doing all that stuff, and I have been doing that ever since '04. But then once I was there, I'm like, well, I used to like the X-Men when I was in third grade, and blah blah blah, and that's when I started picking up a bunch of comics, and then it's just been hardcore ever since.
Gotcha. What about you other fellows?
The first name I recognized, is that the question, the
Look-
original question?
Like the first creator that you followed, like it wasn't like, oh, I love this character. It was, oh, this is a creator that I'm recognizing as something special that I enjoy.
Denny O'Neil for me. And he was just the editor at the time, I think. But I was big in the Batman books when Nightfall happened, and he was the Bat Family editor, and so his name was in all those books, and that was the first name that like just stuck with me and stayed in my head. Since his name wasn't, since he was editor, his name didn't show up on covers or anything, but when I saw that there had been a question series, and it was written by him, I was pretty quick to go look for it. Because I knew the name.
Right.
Those books were quality. The Nightfall and the question.
That was Dennis Cowan, right? When the question did the art.
Yep.
I love him. I love him so much.
Is he still making the comics?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what? He is. He is. At least a few years ago, was.
I heard that they were relaunching was it Milestone Media was relaunching, and that was a Dennis Cowan thing. Oh no, my pen is dead. My pen is dead on me.
My spoon's too big.
Man, look at that surfer there. That is a Troy design surfer, and I love it. When you were talking about that before we hit record, wondering what I was going to draw, I assumed you, maybe had me figured out, and you had me half figured out. But that made me think, like, if I had seen any surfer, is this the very first time you've drawn the surfer?
Oh no. I've drawn a lot of surfers.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, got it. Can't get the thing closed. Done a lot of Silver Surfers over the years. Yeah, got it. Can't get the thing closed. 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 So I'm not a huge fan of per se the comics, but the visual
Yeah.
is really tough to beat. So yeah, I'm quite a fan of the visual of it. I mean, you can tell Kid Slapshot.
Yeah.
Kid Slapshot is nearly an excuse to draw somebody surfing through the cosmos.
Yeah, that was something that I hooked into when I became aware of Kid Slapshot and reading it and just realizing like, oh, I think I'm gonna like this more than I thought I was. Because I talked about it on the show and probably when you were on Crimson Cowl, but just saying, Kirby had mentioned it and then he's got a love of hockey and then we saw the Art and Franco covers and Scoot and like all that kind of stuff and so that was I bought Kid Slapshot because of the variant covers and then when I read it I was just like whoa I was surprised because I was just I wasn't expecting it and it was awesome.
Well, good. You weren't expecting to like it, but you liked it.
I wasn't expecting the Silver Surfer and Galactus and all like the Watcher and like all of that kind of those likenesses and parody and influences. I just was even though looking at the cover and everything like that, I was just like, whoa, this is almost written for me in mind. That's how I felt.
Awesome. I'm a fan of things like Animaniacs and The Tick and all of those things. They take in stuff that they enjoy and they make fun of it.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I made a mistake. He doesn't have britches, does he?
Does he have what? Say that again.
Does he have britches?
No,
I don't.
he's naked.
Pants.
Yeah, he's-
Pants.
If anything, there's just some people will do it whether it looks like he's wearing tidy whities or not. I think that's up to the artist.
Specific artist. Yeah, I just sort of drew them out of habit, and oh well, my surfer got britches.
Put some jeans on him.
Give him a backwards ball cap.
How we doing on their Fantastic Four without reference there, Rodgers?
Well, it's so far so good. We got the
Ooh.
Invisible Woman is invisible. So
Now
she's not.
that's the one that's the one unfortunate thing that for someone who is like one of the most important characters of the Fantastic Four and definitely somebody that Reed Richards doesn't deserve when it comes to the family life and all that kind of stuff. And then she's written and created as like, oh, she's meant to just not be there because once you finally get like a superhero female that's like going to be part of this big team and stuff, and then her superpower is to not be there.
Is there a social commentary to that?
I don't know. All I'll say is that I know that Stan was very if people would call certain things woke these days when it comes to the comics or the Marvel movies and stuff like that, being like, well, just look back at all the Jack and Stan comics and the creation of the Black Panther and then the X-Men and like these characters were there, all of these, all the diverse characters and stuff like that. And yeah, they would definitely get outnumbered by a lot of the white male characters, but there were definitely more of them than what people give credit for. And so it is unfortunate though that it was a great opportunity, but then all of a sudden yeah, her power was to not be there.
Well, as the days went, or as the years went on, she became easily the most powerful member of the group.
And
They
yep,
they kind of made it so that her power wasn't invisibility so much as the control of light. And she could control that light, and she could make that light solid so that she could have like a force field. She could make that light solid so that she could travel on it. She was easily their most powerful character.
and then what they've done in the last 5 to 10 years, trying to think if it was Mark Waid or not, but they made her an agent of Shield, that she had like was a secret spy. So it was written into the continuity, into the canon, that it wasn't just a brand new thing. It's just that, oh,
Huh?
we just never followed her. So she's worked with Fury and stuff like that on secret missions that nobody knew about. So they've definitely continued to develop and make her even awesomer.
She's the bad to the bone.
Ooh, I'm liking what I'm going to show it here, because once again the share screen isn't working, but I am doing the line art here for Jack. So here's what I got so far. I think I nailed it. I sometimes will
Looks
have
good to
trouble if
me.
I'm grabbing likeness, but I think like just like the nose, the ears, the expression, I don't know. Obviously
Hype.
the pipe had to
Yeah.
be in there. Yep.
I know like the big eyebrows is sort of a thing that you see a lot with him.
Yep.
So you got that down.
I would love to be able to pull off that awesome look that Rodgers has on Ben Grimm over there, because without reference, I mean that's a damn good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's cool. You're doing good, dude.
Oh, thanks.
And
Aw.
Troy, will this surfer be available any, like if I click a button now or send a message? Because I don't know, that's looking pretty good.
Nah.
Nope, nope. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. That one's going right into the trash, right?
Yeah.
I invented
As
recycling.
as with all of my artwork, it goes straight to the garbage.
Straight to the printer is what I say.
I
Straight to the
invented the modern printing press.
Now,
It's a little known fact. My name is Gutenberg.
Steve Gutenberg. I created the police academy.
I wrote 3 men and a baby.
I did that role on Veronica Mars that kind of came out of nowhere. Where people looked at me being like, is that Steve Gutenberg?
The answer, yes.
All right, I was going with like the Gutenberg press and all, but clearly there's a pop culture element here that I was not aware of.
Yeah, Steve Gutenberg, our star of the Police Academy movies, or at least a couple of the 20 that they've made. So
Which character was he?
the
Mahoney.
main guy, say that again.
Mahoney.
Mahoney, yes.
Yeah, the main guy. Okay. I never knew his name.
Jeez.
Sketch card time. Oh, there he is. There's Doom.
Looking good,
Mouse are
dude.
hard.
And you're
Mouse.
going off of. I saw a book flip open. Are you looking
Yeah.
for the reference, or are you going off the figure?
Well, I have a small stack. I forgot I had a small stack of these True Believers one shots or $1 books.
I invented both of those words.
Yeah, you did.
I think that actually is something that we can 100% credit to him. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
I was about to say that's unsarcastically. Yes, he did.
Anyways, yes. So the dollar, is it the dollar reprints of the True Believer editions?
Yeah, I'm looking for Doom images through the ones I got, because I just don't know how to draw his mouth. He can't be smiling, right?
Nope. He's got that weird metal mouth thing happening.
Yeah,
You should just give him Ben Grimm mouth.
I'm not that talented, guys.
I suffered really bad case of Ben Grimm mouth once.
I knew that was coming. I saw that coming a mile away.
Um,
I
so
would
Jack,
like
Jack,
that. Like,
so Jack Kirby, we've talked about on this very program about how Matt Rodgers has drawn a lot of comic pages in a short amount of days. We talked about that adventure in the Happy Astronaut episode, and it's probably been talked about a couple other times based on the order that those episodes were released. But kind of working under pressure, working with the deadline, and pumping out art pages. Now, Jack Kirby is famous for drawing the heck out of comics. For I don't know if anybody else chime in if they know if there's a certain number, but I just know there's just a he just has that reputation. He had the reputation of just pumping out page after page, several pages a day, and obviously with as many titles as going on, like there was no there was no other way for him. But his family, his wife, the kids and grandkids would always talk about him going down and just drawing all morning and all day long and throughout the night in his basement studio, which was known as the dungeon. He was in the dungeon, and but yeah, he cranked out just a crazy amount of pages. And whenever there's a reference, whenever anybody talks about, like when Rodgers started saying how many he was doing, I'm just thinking like, man, we have a Jack Kirby on our hands here. So yeah, any thoughts from the artist, Matt Rodgers? And we'll start with Rodgers and jump over to Troy on the, I guess the pressure and the idea of seeing the work that Jack has put out there on the pages, and for his all those titles coming out in the 60s and just keeping on a schedule like that. How do you react to just seeing that? Does that sound like, man, that'd just be fun, like if that was your full-time job, or are you feel intimidated and you feel like you would exhausted just hearing about the kind of workload he came out with? Let's start with Rodgers.
Um, I know that I've heard that he was doing like at least 3 or 4 full issues a month and covers here and there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the difference. I think comics had more pages back then than they do now.
Yep.
more pages, more frames.
Yeah, and I think they drew them a lot bigger.
Yeah, larger pages.
Yeah, so that's pretty nuts. But
And without any digital tools of speeding up one's process, just physically drawing and faxing in papers, mailing and sending out FedEx and all that kind of stuff, and mailing your finished work out there. So yeah.
it's pretty bonkers. I don't think that that would be fun at all, because I know that somebody, I think Rob Liefeld had a story where he went over to Jack Kirby's house
Sure.
and he asked them like, why were you so prolific? And he was just like, I needed to get money for my family. And that's all that dude did.
And
Well, I mean, what else would he have time for?
and here I thought that there were only two Jack Kirby impersonators out there. One being John Suntress of Word Balloon, the second being Tunes by Troy from Cartoonist by Night and Kid Slapshot. But now there's a third one, and it's Matt Rodgers of Happy Astronaut. Awesome, awesome that I'm in the presence of greatness here.
I would echo what Roger said. That sounds awful.
Right. It just sounds so miserable, man.
Like, so there, the Stanley biography mentions how poorly the artists were paid and how hard they had to work just to eke out a semblance of a decent living. And you look at how much he did and how influential he did, and it seems like, I mean, I don't know for sure if he's getting like a better page rate than other artists or not, but it certainly doesn't seem like he is, because he's really busting his tail to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Well, that and like isn't there a big controversy about him with his getting his original art back, and how a majority of it's just gone because when they finally got like an order for him to get it back, they gave him back like 5% of what he turned in.
And also, this is one of the interviews I recently revisited where he had talked about a fan had asked him if he had any original art from the 40s and drawing Captain America, creating Captain America, and all that stuff, and he very casually just said, "Oh, that stuff was just burned. Like you just burned it. You threw it out. And that's how like the comics were. Whenever you would pick up a comic, it was just meant to go in the next day's trash with the newspapers and the recycling, and at a point that's pretty much like when Neil Adams would come in, later on in like the 70s or so and start to witness that firsthand and realizing that original art would just get shredded because well, we filled up the file cabinet, we need room for more of it. So yeah, just shred it. And he would eventually see somebody doing this, someone who was just told to do it, just doing their job, and stopping him and saying Neil Adams would say he's like if you shred one more comic page, he's like I'm going to punch you right in the face. He's like don't do it. And if anybody knows anything about Neil Adams, you know that he actually said that, and he definitely wouldn't hesitate to say something like that. But that would lead into artists getting their pages back rather than being owned by the company or getting sent out, or they would get that extra income with keeping the pages, able to sell it off and stuff. But Jack Kirby has said he's like, oh no, I don't have those. He's like yeah, most of those were just burned. So, oh man.
I wonder if Liechtenstein. So Liechtenstein was like this fine art guy that would copy comic book art and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, on enlarging and copying comic book art. I wonder if his presence in the pop art scene kind of helped to give the comic art a little bit of notoriety. That may not be the right word, notoriety. A little bit of recognition.
Yeah, I'm not too. I've heard that name, but I'm not too familiar with the history behind it.
Hang on, I will.
He would actually like take panels and blow them up and screen print them, and like he really brought out the dots. Like he was a big like screen tones guy. But yeah, everybody was like, "Holy cow, this stuff's awesome!" And then people realized, "Holy cow, he's ripping off existing work."
Yeah, it very much ripping off. Okay, there's also a German county called Liechtenstein. Okay, that's not it. What is his name? Roy?
That sounds right.
Liechtenstein? There we go. Image.
Showing off the screen here for people to see that I'm working on the shirt. I haven't committed to the his hair yet because that's probably going to be a make it or break it thing where I might have to I might not get as lucky with getting that on the first try. I might have to work on that hair for a while because I think that forehead and hair is probably going to be a pretty crucial thing. Maybe I'll just give him the Ben Grimm brow there and a stone brow.
Yeah, just make him an amalgamation of all of the characters that he designed.
He's like the Super Skrull, but of artists. Yeah.
So scrolly.
Okay, I'm gonna try to put this on there in front. Well, I mean, you can sort of see it.
Sure.
It's a copy of a comic book panel. It's hard to see, but it's got the text up here. It says, "As I open fire, I knew why Tex hadn't buzzed me. ... If he had ... And then Brat. Literally just a copy of a comic book panel. I don't know who it was, who originally drew the panel, but he did not claim to have done anything original. he was just copying comic book stuff and selling it, for big money on the fine art scene.
He sounds like a jerk and really
Yeah.
smart.
What did you say? But also probably smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
I mean,
jerk.
I wouldn't do something like that, but he probably
Well,
wasn't working in a factory after that, right?
It's true.
I don't know much about Roy Lichtenstein, but yeah, it's plagiarism, and he became a millionaire based on plagiarizing something that was not considered to be real art at the time. That Rodgers is fun to watch draw, though. I do enjoy that.
That is true.
I concur.
You like to zoom? I like to zoom a lot when I'm working.
I was watching one last night and it looked like Anthony was about to vomit while you were zooming in and out so rapidly. Like he looked away from the screen like, ugh!
I think that was part of our 4.5 hour stream that was broken up in 2 episodes. So there might have been a lot of things happening in that episode by the end.
Yeah.
You guys did
So-
a 4.5 hour stream?
But yeah, you were there for most of it. It wasn't a stream in the sense of it wasn't a live stream. I just say that just a session. It was a session.
Yeah, at the beginning of the second part, it's like previously on Cartoonist by Night, and it has you like throwing your hands up like, yeah, I'm done, I'm out.
I gotta go, guys.
Me?
Yep.
Yeah, you.
Because you were there for, that's when you drew the chain dead guy, the dead zombie guy.
Oh, okay.
So you were there for a great portion of it, and then when you left, which is the second episode, then I just broke it up because instead of doing a 4.5 hour episode, so once you left, then me and Rodgers kept going, and that was the most recent upload that Troy's starting to refer to.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Troy. Sorry for interrupting.
Did you interrupt?
I don't know.
It's safe to
yeah.
say it, even
I'm
if
just
you
trying to
did it.
draw Dr. Doom.
How's it coming? Let's see it.
There he is.
What are
Mouths
those?
are hard. Huh?
He's
What
got
are those?
huge nipples.
Right. I was gonna say those things are huge.
Aren't they awesome?
Dr. Doom's rocking some dinner plates.
It takes
No wonder he's so angry.
it takes a particular artist to draw Dr. Doom shirtless to.
Now we know what you can offer at the table at Cincinnati. I'm doing commissions, but only if it involves Dr. Doom's nipples.
I was wondering where that was going. Now we know what you can offer at Cincinnati. I'm here to draw your nipples. Step right up. Nipple commissions.
Let's see them.
I was at a little show and there was a woman there that was doing butt portraits, and she had people lining up just to like standing in front of her with their butt t-shirts lifted up. A lot of butt portraits that day were drawn. It was fun. Good times.
Oh yeah, butts.
I mean, who doesn't like butts? Fill in Tina from Bob's Burgers. Did someone say butts? But that question that I had asked about, what was the first creator that grabbed your attention? I had been collecting comics. We lived at one of those massive, huge apartment complexes in Florida for a little while. And it wasn't a 7-Eleven, it was called a Jiffy store. And the Jiffy store had a spinner rack there that had a lot of different comics in it. And it was a great place to go. And I had been collecting for a while mostly from the spinner rack in the Jiffy store, and it was Rob Liefeld was the first creator that grabbed me.
Yeah.
And granted, this was a time frame when I thought that because all the Marvel comics said Stan Lee presents, part of me is like, okay, Stan Lee made this comic. I didn't care to look it up or to verify that or anything like that, but the first guy to really grab my attention as like a singular creator was Rob Liefeld.
Oh, Uncle Rob.
Good old Uncle Rob.
All right, I just did the had to do some concentration as I was drawing the pencil in Jack Kirby's hand and drawing a pencil all the way through, but then erasing the right lines to make sure he was actually holding it. So there we have a Jack Kirby fist gripping onto the pencil,
Nice.
almost Scoot style. He's really just
Old Scoot.
now going back to Jack Kirby. So diving into the Silver Surfer, becoming a fan of the Silver Surfer. I was always a fan of him, but it really got to an extreme love with Dan Slott and Michael Allred, and that led me to going back and getting every single Silver Surfer story with the self-titled books, but also some of the key issues for Fantastic Four that were I was able to get my hands on and things like that, but mostly focusing on the solo title of the Silver Surfer. And unfortunately, Jack wouldn't move on to doing the solo series. Stan worked with I think it was with Buscema, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, for that initial run, but I think it was Jack that came in on the final issue, if I'm not mistaken, that issue 18 of the first volume of the Surfer. And I don't know the reasoning behind it, or if it was just, hey, this is the final issue, let's bring Jack, the creator of the Silver Surfer, onto it. But Surfer was one of those characters that Stan Lee held very close to him when it came to writing the character beyond the pages of the Fantastic Four. And it was one of the things that it took a long time for him to eventually let go and allow other people to play with that character. And, with coming up with, scripting the dialogue, coming up with whatever needed to be come up with the actual backstory and stuff like that beyond Jack Kirby's initial introduction. But they would work together on one of the early graphic novels that Marvel would come out with, and Stan and Jack did a graphic novel that, if I'm not mistaken, came from the possibility of a Silver Surfer movie that was possibly going to happen in the 70s. Some of the facts might be shifted depending on a year or whatever, but from what I remember, I think they were Silver Surfer was going to be optioned for a film, and I would assume this is only post, Star Wars, or at the cusp of Star Wars, and Star Trek would have been out, by the time, and all that stuff. But I think they were looking for a possible treatment and story for it, and without using the Fantastic Four as an origin story into the Surfer. And Stan and Jack had created this graphic novel that would just kind of tell its own story. It's kind of like what we're seeing with like the Venom movies, where it's just like, all right, this is Venom without any mention of Spider-Man and stuff like that. But yeah, so they would eventually get to work on the character in that graphic novel, and that became just like one of my favorite pieces. And I'm not sure where they were in their relationship there, but they this was definitely after all the disputes and all the back and forth and all that kind of stuff. And so it was cool to see them kind of unite. I don't know if it was maybe their last thing that they would have worked on together, but that was my little thoughts there on how I would eventually start to appreciate Jack more in my adult life after becoming a surfer fan through different creators who were fans of the Surfer. All Red and Dan Slott were huge Silver Surfer fans, and obviously of Jack. So their love letter to that character got me to go back and experience everything that Jack started with. So that's my little piece on the Surfer there.
What run of Silver Surfer would you suggest for somebody who doesn't know anything about the Silver Surfer except for Herald of
Good question.
Galactus?
The best, and unfortunate, let's see, it's my go-to answer is the Slot and All Red, because not only for the Silver Surfer, what's great about that is that you don't have to have any Marvel knowledge at all. Because all of the stories that happen, learning about Galactus, learning about Surfer, is all done through the eyes of Dawn Greenwood, the character, the human girl that the human woman that they introduced into that book, into the Marvel universe. Every question a reader could have is brought through her eyes, so it's such a perfect introduction. If it comes to anything outside of that run, um, gosh, it's hard to say just because that first volume of the Surfer is really good with Stan and Buscema, um, dealing with the 10 years that the Surfer has is trapped on Earth, and he the character is such a inner monologue. You know, he's such a broken character, and he's here trapped on this planet, and he's such a there's a word I'm trying to think of. I just can't come up with it, but he's a tragic character, as most great characters are. But you see, what Stan loved about the Silver Surfer is how he looked at Earth and humanity and saw how Earth was the best planet. Like, look at this. Look at all the food and the resources and the trees and the literal Earth and everything that humanity has created. And yet there's so much hate, bigotry and racism and war being a key thing. And Stan would use all of those values and write that into the Surfer story and how he reacted to the people of Earth, and just being like, they have it all, yet they're ruining everything. Like, they're not, they don't know how lucky they are. And Surfer has seen, every galaxy and all the different planets and humanity and races, and he goes, Earth is the best one, yet none of them are respecting their planet. And all of that came through, and I think that's how Stan really ended up kind of co-owning the character for his own right. Like I said, he's been on record of saying that Jack threw that character in there, and he's just like, "Who's this nut?" And so he's gone on record for that, at least. I don't know if he's, gone back on that to other interviews. Depends which interview you're watching. But
so Jack drew him, designed him, but Stan built something inside of what Jack did.
I think that's where, because Jack would have been like, I don't want to draw spaceships. It'll be easier just to draw a guy on a surfboard. And that's kooky because nobody's seen a guy in space surfing on a surfboard before. And then from there, it's all just a giant question mark. And like, all right, so now does Stan, he sees this, wondering what it is, calls Jack up or calls him into the bullpen office or whatever. And then he's like, all right, well, who knows where it goes from there when it comes to creating the character of Norrin Rad. But that's for people that, were in the room. And
hey, Jack, explain to me this character that I just created.
I came up with this great creation. Now tell me, what did I name him?
What did I do here?
And that's a perfect thing to have me elaborate more. Once again, talking about, Troy said it very well, talking about what he's done for the industry and the promotion and getting this stuff. And he was very early, like saying like, well, this should be merchandise and, shampoo bottles and t-shirts and cartoons, and they should be big action movies and blah, blah, blah. And all of that stuff. Like, there was nobody like Stan that pioneered that kind of thing. And there'll be some that you look at, like Steve Ditko, who is known as like, he's a very closed in, very secluded, and like he's definitely not going to be out there, on an interview talking about Spider-Man. Like that wasn't his personality. Now, did some of that come from not being invited, but also Steve Ditko, he just wanted to draw the comics, and so Stan just had that natural feel, and to be goofy and be a character, the character of Stan Lee, coincidentally created by Stan Lee. Um, and my love for Stan Lee, I've had 7 interactions with him,
Wow.
and some of those, whether they're half of them are photo ops, half of them are autographs, and one of them is what my friend Erica referenced, called it as Stan Lee made a cameo in my life. I was waiting in a line for Hulk Hogan at C2E2 one year, and I'm standing there first in line by the curtain, and a curtain opened up, and I was just happened to notice it, and it was Stan Lee coming out of a photo op, and he just had one person with him, and there was nobody else around. There was nobody cheering. I was literally just early to start the line for Hulk Hogan, and Stan Lee just walked right in front of me, and I had met him already, so I still had a shock just because, whoa, it's Stan Lee, but
Sure.
he walked by, and I just go, I'm like, hello, Stan. He's like, hello there, spider friend, whatever he said. And he
That
walked
would,
past.
that would be awesome if he called you Spider Friend.
He did it, but the story's much better if he did. He walked past, and I'm just like, even though I had met him a couple times, I'm just like, it was just like me, Stan, and the security guard, and like nobody else was even noticing it. And I told my friend Erica right away, I'm just like, Stan Lee just popped out right in front of me. We said hi, blah blah blah. And she's like, whoa, she's like, Stan Lee made a cameo in your life. I'm like, he did. I'm like, he wasn't supposed to be there. I was supposed to be there. And Stan just happened to he stole my spotlight. He came in and made a cameo. Um, but so my love of
Pretty cool.
Stan my love of Stan Lee goes so high, and I love the man and had so many awesome tiny little moments. But I did get to talk about Jack Kirby with him. That's why I'm bringing all this up, because I had him sign a very important issue, and I had him sign the cover, and I just said, I'm like, this is my favorite superhero creation, and many thanks to Jack Kirby and yourself for bringing this character out there, and just saying he's excellent. Just real quick words and things that nothing to it's all by the book, all very cookie cutter. Thanks for creating this character. And I'm saying I think he's the greatest creation. And then Stan looked up to me and just goes, I agree. And it just that's all I would expect out of him, is just being like, rather than like, oh, you're welcome, because that's not Stan's personality. That's, you want to be like, you're right. And he had said something on an interview where on a radio interview where he interrupted Jack Kirby's birthday, which is it's a very popular interview. I don't know if have any of you guys heard this interview at all?
I haven't
I
heard
have.
the real one.
Okay, I should Fife, have you heard it?
I have not heard the real one.
Okay, Troy,
Yes. Yep. Sure have.
Rodgers.
No.
Okay, because when I asked that, it was my fault as a host where I had everybody in. I'm like, I have no idea who said what. Did Ben Grimm just say that? Whoa, I'm just happened to look at how much fun Rodgers is having on those arms there. That's got to be the whether you're drawing Plastic Man or Fantastic or Mr. Fantastic, that's got to be one of the most freeing features as an artist, to just go wild with that. How you doing? How you liking your arm work there?
I don't like drawing hands.
Really? You're so good
Yeah.
at it.
Don't you lie to me.
I'm not lying to you.
You're a liar.
I mean, you can't count to 5, but you do a good job with hands.
Yeah.
Hey, Fife,
Well,
show us those hands.
show what, my hands?
You're making it very difficult on things that I have to be like, all right, can this fly? Can that fly? I think I'm gonna get to the point where it's just like, all right, no edits, who cares? The show's rated R. Watch at your own discretion.
Yeah, they're weird. They're big. right? That's why I called him banana hands or banana fingers. Does it translate?
Banana fingers.
Yeah, you're gross.
Yeah. Thanks.
Rather have banana fingers than the fingers we see in the Everything Everywhere at All at Once. If anybody has seen that movie,
I hear good
Yeah.
things.
Dude, did you see that like you could get or you could go to the A24 website for a little bit and you could buy gloves that were like silicone and they looked like that?
really,
Yeah, they were sold out when I got a chance.
that's awesome and frightening.
The movie
I have
is,
not seen it.
dude, so good.
And now you want to.
Nope.
The thing that's super wild
Nope.
about that movie that I found out is that the main role that the lady that won all the Academy Awards for, that was originally supposed to be played by Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
That would have been a terrible movie. No
Um,
offense to Jackie Chan lovers here.
now I just realized that.
Hey, I love Jackie Chan.
I invented Jackie Chan.
Hey, I don't even understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
That's right, true believers. Jackie Chan was invented in the bullpen. 1973. Me and Jim Salascrup, we were high as a kite.
Originally, it was Spider Chan, but somebody came along and changed my mind.
To close out the thread I started with my appreciation of Stan Lee, all that said, with me loving the man and everything, yeah, it is unfortunate to see that how Jack would be treated in that sense and other artists to follow. And you would hear some of that you would get a vibe of that in that radio interview, which there was a radio station that had Jack Kirby on, I think in the 80s for his birthday. And he was doing a radio interview. And, they would definitely want to start jumping into the controversy. And you could see that the radio guys were kind of, definitely wanted to kind of get some material there, get some clicks, if you will, and would start bringing it up. And what seemed like the biggest kind of like fu to Jack Kirby in that celebrating the man's birthday, they brought in Stan Lee as a special guest on the phone and to wish Jack a happy birthday. And listening to kind of like the tone, and this is where John Suntress goes into the impression that I wish I could, replicate, but just kind of talking about like, oh, because he always called him Stanley. Like, oh, hi there, Stanley. Hi, Stanley. Yep, thank you, Stanley. And it just like they would, you would feel some of the awkwardness in there, and you would see, them both kind of giving very complimentive words back and forth. But, some of that it's like, all right, well, they're both on air on a radio station. So who knows, what's being said and who wants to, say what while they're being recorded or something. But you definitely saw like
Right.
a shift in tone of like, really, you're gonna surprise Jack Kirby with Stan Lee on his birthday, and just like it just yeah. So
Bad news bears.
Almost like an ambush.
yeah, ambush is a good word for it, where it's just like he just came in and kind of took it over. And there was interviews too. I've watched a lot with Stanley and talking about, him always complimenting Jack Kirby and the work that he would do. And there's only so much that, unless you hear from other creators that are in the room. I know Roy Thomas is one that has kind of, talked about it, and, him working in those years and stuff. And it just, yeah, Jack Kirby was obviously treated dirty, and that's unfortunate and it sucks. And while that happens, there's still a lot of elements that I can still love about Stanley, but there's also that kind of thing that just kind of, it's a real big bummer that, Jack, it's
Yeah.
overall, it's a bummer that Jack isn't as famous as Stanley when it comes to like throwing. Even if you threw his, while Jack Kirby has had a and I'll put the picture up here in post. But Jack Kirby plays he's like a sketch artist, I think, for the police in an episode of The Incredible Hulk, of Lou Ferrigno's Incredible Hulk. And
I didn't know that. That's cool.
it is an awesome that you see him like 2 or 3 times, and I think it's like a hospital scene or something, but Jack Kirby's sitting there at like a bedside, and he's got a big sketch pad, and he's a sketch artist, and yeah, and I don't think he has any dialogue, but he does a cameo. He plays, well, not even that, he plays a character in there, and it's a very cool thing. You'll find it real quick if you just type Jack Kirby Incredible Hulk show or something, and it's a shame that the MCU, for as fun as it was to see all the Stan Lee cameos pop up and like, oh, there he is, and it is, I still feel a loss when we don't see that stuff, after he had passed away, because it always was a fun little moment in the pacing of the movie and stuff. But it's a shame that they also wouldn't do the same for Jack by having like a mural and having his face in a picture frame, and like there's so many ways. And I'm not even, I'm not expecting them to do a digital, I don't want to see a digital recreation of Jack Kirby walking around and doing a Stan Lee cameo or something. But just to have his face up there in the background and just be like, oh, look, there's Jack Kirby. Like, it's a bummer that just wasn't part of those two guys both didn't have cameos. So, anyways.
Yeah. I got to take a break, fellas. I'll be right back.
He is leaving. Fife, do you have anything to say about Jack Kirby when it comes to you as a writer? Happy Astronaut #1. By the time this episode drops, by the way, I forgot to say this at the top. 2 things I forgot to say. Thank you and shout out to bevcam.org. We see the logo flash up on the last couple episodes, but this is the first time we have the opportunity to give them a proper shout out in recording. Bevcam.org, through my friend Michelle, who works over there, after her and I just kind of talking. She asked if we would like to have Cartoonist by Night air on the public access television in Beverly, Massachusetts. So bevcam.org, let's say hello to everybody who's possibly watching us. And I apologize for any of the some of the humor that may have come out with all of the, we used technical terms earlier on, so we weren't being too crass. But anyways, bevcam.org. This is either the first time that they're airing this episode, maybe it's the last time they're airing it after they watch it. But bevcam.org, big shout out. Thank
Hi,
you.
bevcam.org.
Hello. And the reason for dropping this episode specifically on August 28th, because that will be the I had the math there, but I think it's the 106th birthday of Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby's birthday would be a birthday that I would start celebrating myself. I would buy some key Silver Surfer issues if there was a really big one that I had to get, even if it wasn't one that Jack, like Stan or Silver Surfer #1. I almost called it Stan Lee #1, which is, this is what Stan has done to us. Stan Lee #1. So even for Jack's birthday, I would start, August 28th. He was born in 1917. So yeah, this will be his 106th birthday. So that's why we are specifically going to drop this episode. So August 28th is also a very, what day does that fall on here? If I happen to look, that falls on a Monday. In just 2 days from the dropping of this episode, if you were watching when this drops, Happy Astronaut #1 is coming out on newsstands, comic book shops, maybe newsstands. So you're 2 days out. We got to think in the future, guys. 2 days out from Happy Astronaut coming out. This is why I framed it this way. With you coming out with this this comic book, Matt Fife as the writer, what kind of inspiration do you think that you can get from? We'll go into Rodgers about maybe the work ethic of Jack Kirby. We touched on it a little bit, but maybe the writing team, creation team of Stan and Jack being such a prominent part of the industry. Is there anything that you look at what they've done that you can take as a writer that inspires you? Feel free to dive into that from a writer's approach. Nothing, or you just have, is it a big question?
No, I got to process real quick. You might want to edit the processing part out. I
Part
don't
of
know,
it
maybe it's
was,
entertaining.
go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've been talking a lot about how Jack got screwed over. And I don't want to be a Stan Lee in that respect. So any chance I get, co-creator, just the writer, all that, making sure Rodgers gets his man, words are hard, Anthony.
That was
Such
said
a
by
writery.
that was said by a writer, everybody.
Yeah, when I write, I have time to like process it and then put it down and edit it. But when I talk, I don't get to do that. I just have to talk and hope it comes out right the first time.
Sure.
You want to make sure he
Usually-
gets his due.
What's that?
You want to make sure he gets his due.
Yes, I want to make sure he gets his due. There we go. Thanks, Troy.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
Did that answer the question, Anthony? You tell me to
Sure.
leave?
I think that's definitely a good thing that comes
He's
from
like,
it.
I don't
is,
know.
I'll say this. Oh, I'm loving this coloring. Honestly, your Fantastic Four without reference, I am digging the heck out of it.
I think I got their logo right.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
looks
what does a news channel's number 4 look like? Look at this hand. It's a good hand though.
I love the floating Ben Grimm head at the moment. And it's, Ben
scared.
Grimm and Jack Kirby have a lot of, I think that's been a lot of people have kind of wondered, like, if he's kind of drawn himself as, he's kind of he's got that build, he's got the cigar, he's got that kind of demeanor, and like, he's kind of a scrappy kind of, New Yorker and stuff like that. But yeah, so it feels good to see Jack Kirby looming over as a floating head, and as per Rodgers' drawing. Going back to Fife with, I think that's definitely a good thing. Like the good things that can come out of the bad examples of how not only how artists are treat and how writers treat artists, and how the industry treats artists as a general, with just, when you talk about a certain run, and I'm sure we're all guilty of it, just being like, oh, this so and so run from the writer, because then when you go into the artist, being like, well, maybe this person didn't do all of it, and then you gotta name this person, then do you start mentioning the colorist, and there's a lot to say there. But mostly when people talk about epic runs of, Daredevil and things like that, they often just say the writer. Brian Bendis, I will say, is probably is a great example of somebody who, in the modern era of creating comics of the last 25 years or so, where he is very quick to always make sure that every single artist of his gets the credit. Brian Bendis is a co-creator of Miles Morales' Spider-Man, that being probably his biggest, especially now in the middle of these Spider-Verse movies. And when anybody, whether it's a tweet, an interview, art credit, anytime this pops up, it's often going to Bendis. But he's never missing a beat to mention. He's like, well, Sarah Pichelli created the character too. Sarah Pichelli or Pichelli? I'll say both.
I like Pichelli.
Pichelli.
Yeah.
And he'll mention, and that's bad that I can't even, normally I'm pretty good with some of that, but Sarah Pichelli, I think it's Pichelli. Or I'm thinking
I think you're right, Anthony.
Or I'm thinking of Scapelli, because I just watched Bob Hoskins in not Super Mario Brothers, but in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And every time I see Bob Hoskins, I just go Scapelli, because that's what he's always done in Super Mario Brothers. So, anyways, that's a thing. So, Sarah Pichelli, that sounds right now that I just said it without being on the spot. He is always there to talk about Alex Maleev and Sarah Pichelli and David Mack and the creators of Jessica Jones and Miles Morales, and the Daredevil runs, like all like, and Maya, Echo from the Daredevil series and stuff. he is the one that I see always make sure that those names are included. And that has inspired me to always do the same. That when I'm reviewing things on Crimson Cowl Comic Club, whether I'm talking about you guys and mentioning, I'm always saying, if I'm talking about Rodgers, I'm always saying, oh, he's the artist and co-creator of Happy Astronaut. I'm not saying he's the artist of Happy Astronaut. I'm always saying that. So I think the bad examples that so many creators and publishers and everybody have set for us ever since comics were created up until the modern age, uh, and being influenced by what Bendis does to make sure that these people get their credit where credit's due. That's inspired me to always just list off as many people as I can remember when talking about Silver Surfer by Dan Slott and Mike and Laura Allred. Like, it's just the bad examples, the bad behavior has now set examples for us to make sure that doesn't happen again, right?
Right. I'm gonna follow Bendis's lead. Try to anyway.
Yeah,
If-
yeah.
If this career goes any further than Happy Astronaut, we'll see.
Well, if my pre-order
Even if it
number-
didn't.
Say
Even
that
if it didn't, you're already following that lead.
That's right.
but yeah, I think that like from a writer standpoint, that is definitely a good way to look at it. And do you have any commentary just on the creative output of like uh let's say how does that appeal to you if you were in the position of Stan Lee and plotting and scripting and whatever the word you want to use for it, the Marvel method version, if you were working with multiple artists, like the work ethic that kind of comes from creating all those comics, like Rodgers already said that it doesn't sound fun with drawing as many pages as Stan or as see there we go. I just had a Freudian slip there as Jack would draw. Uh, how do you see that from a writer standpoint of like just juggling so many things? Like, would you like to get to a point where and maybe you are at that point that you can't talk about yet?
Multiple projects. Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard getting an issue of Happy done. Like, I'm a very slow writer at this point. I don't have a routine in my life right now, even though I said that this summer my full-time job was going to be writing comics. Reality punched me right in the face, and that's okay. Reality's awesome.
yeah.
But once the school year starts back up, I'm looking forward to having a routine, and then I will try and do these multiple project things. I forget your question because I started talking. What was it again?
It was basically that of just that idea of like, does that sound entertaining to like, even though you just admitted about being, like a slower writer and stuff, but like, could you possibly get to that point where, yeah, you better yourself with the pace and you get excited? Like, I'll say this, like I've had moments in my life with all my hobbies and stuff where I'm like, where I see art come in from people that are drawing art for me and things like I've had like 4 or 5 things happening at once and things that would either see the light of day or not. I got to a point where it was fun to see all of this stuff being like, oh, this person, Dan Slott says that a lot where he goes, I get to wake up and I get a whole new page of, so and so's art that come whoever he's working with that moment. And how do you think that would be if you were working at the pace of Stan and Jack of just being like, all right, now today is Daredevil and tomorrow's X-Men
And I could just get into the flow, and that was actually my full-time job, and I got to go to an office and like,
yeah. Does that actually sound like fun if you had
yeah, dude.
if you had the
If I could-
mentality?
yeah, because I'm always juggling 3, 4, 5 different stories that I want to write.
Yeah.
But I have to have a priority. That priority is Happy Astronaut. And with me being a slow writer, not being able to get into the zone, just because of like time constraints. Man, yeah, if I could spend 8 hours a day just writing comics,
Yeah.
and that be how I like kept a roof over my head or whatever I was living under,
Yeah.
I would love
Cool. That definitely answers what I was asking there. Let's jump over to Troy. Let's get him talking. If you before I ask you some not prepared questions, because I'm just kind of coming up with it in the moment. I was going to do that to have you show it off, and if you want to talk about what you did here and what you're, we definitely see some Kirby Crackle, which we should talk about. Do you have enough knowledge with the Kirby Crackle to kind of educate the listeners as an artist on why that's a term and became a band? Just the idea.
Is it a band?
There's a band, yeah, Kirby Crackle. We may
Yeah,
have
they do
mentioned
the
it. I don't know
theme
if it's
songs
been-
for Comic Geek Speak.
That's cool.
but yeah,
No, I didn't know that.
there's a lot of good songs out there. It's definitely like a geek world type of band. They're not on like Jay Leno or something, which would be weird because
It's
he doesn't have a talk.
Kirby Crackle. Hang on, let me grab a big old fat Sharpie marker and I'll switch back over.
Because that
Kirby
should
Crackle.
Yep.
It's a design element that's used to show energy, and it does a good job of showing energy. But it's basically just dots. Super simple, just dots. So you'll have let's see. So here's
and that's
here's
definitely
happy.
and that's definitely something that Jack created to the point where it's just like it's almost like you're creating a wheel like for comic books where it's just like nobody had the idea until Jack. If I'm not mistaken, obviously it's Kirby Crackle for a reason. But like
Right.
people just like because people would draw it whether it was related to cosmic related things or not, or if somebody was punching, like people do homages to it, and it's just like, yeah, nobody came up with the idea of drawing energy until Jack Kirby started just drawing energy, as we see Troy doing right now. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's essentially it. It's just a depiction of energy. Now, there is other ways that people will draw energy. They'll do like the quick motion lines. Motion lines are a means of drawing energy as well to make things just kind of pop out.
For sure.
But the Kirby Crackle is more of a um, like a radiant energy. Like that it's radiating from that particular character.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure that Kirby had some sort of a philosophy behind it, but I mean, essentially, it's just cool looking. You can take, pardon me, but a crappy doodle of Happy Astronaut right here. You can take that crappy doodle, and you can add these Kirby Crackles to it, and make it look somewhat less, just more interesting.
Give it more character.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of crazy that something like is there any examples that anybody can think of here of like something that's such a staple, like not like it's in every comic book, but it's such a thing that has been adopted by so many people, and anytime you can kind of throw it in there and you see like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like it's like if you just invented being like, hey, maybe you should have a head on a body or something. It's just like, yeah, that head should be on a body. Like the Kirby Crackle is just like a thing that exists that just like, is there another thing that's like that? Like of how anybody draws anything like design wise where like I said, I'm just at a loss for words to try to think if there's anything like Kirby Crackle that is.
When you guys
Well,
say
I mean,
when you say Kirby Crackle, are you talking about Lee Crackle?
Lee Crackle?
I
Yeah.
invented the Kirby Crackle.
Stan Lee invented the crackle.
What's funny is because
Little known fact: Jack Kirby didn't know how to crackle till I
Well-
showed him how to crackle.
that cereal called Crackle that nobody buys on the top shelf because it tastes like garbage? Well, I created that. And it's actually pretty good. It's like twigs or
ID.
something. Isn't that what Crackle the cereal is? It just looks like
Before me, Rice Krispies just snappled and popped. I invented the cracker.
that's a good one.
That's
Uh,
perfect.
but yeah, like I don't know what I'm trying to like fish for to see if somebody had an answer, but I just can't think of something that's just like
Well, like it's a design element, right?
yeah,
So Jack Kirby had a lot of geometry in his designs. Like he would put, if you look at like the New Gods, there's a lot of circles that are connected. It almost looks like a diagram of an atom, right? So he's got a lot of geometry in his designs. And then you move forward a number of years and you have this is not a Rob Liefeld episode, but you got a character like or an artist like Rob Liefeld that adds things into his designs like weird bracelets on the thigh, and pockets everywhere and gigantic shoulder pads. And those things get adopted by a number of other creators.
yeah.
So, as far as, it's a design element that it's easy to look at and be like, that's freaking cool. And other creators will grab a hold of it. I think like the pockets, like Batman didn't have pockets back in the day. When we were younger and we were getting Norm Brayfogle and Jim Aparo illustrated Batman, there was no pockets on there. But after the extreme 90s guys, suddenly Batman's utility belts got pockets on it instead of like some things that look like pills on it. So yeah, I think that there are other comic book tropes that have caught on other than just Kirby Crackle.
Yeah, pockets I think is a perfect example because if you're talking comics and you mention pockets, you just think Rob Liefeld. Like that is that is a great example of what I was trying to ask.
Yeah. Also, like speed lines.
Okay, let's talk about
Speed lines are used a lot in comics. Somebody was probably the first one to utilize the speed line. I don't know who.
yeah.
Um, but it had to have originated somewhere, and it's used an awful lot. Trying to think what else.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was fishing for to see if to kind of rack the brain and see if there was any similar thing to the Kirby Crackle.
Probably none named after the creator of it, right?
Yeah, that's probably true. Because yeah, you don't call them. Some people may call them Liefeld pockets, but it's not called Liefeld. If somebody draws a pocket on a a Polly Pocket action figure, they don't call it. Oh, it's a Rob Liefeld Polly Pocket, But yeah, as far as adapting the name, that's something that I don't think has happened.
I have a Kirby Crackle tattoo.
Do you?
Oh well, it's on my tattoo. There's some Kirby Crackle. I don't know if it'll show up.
Well, yep. Show
I
us.
don't know where it's at.
That will be the editing. That will be the editing point when you mention that. So we're back. We're back.
That's cool.
Well, he disappeared.
I can't really tell what it is, but like in post, maybe you could take a picture of it or have Elise take a picture of it. And
yeah,
we can have the close up so we can see it. That's neat.
Yeah, it's right around that little blue star thing. It's not finished. It never got finished, but eventually I'll get it finished.
Mine just has hatch marks and a bunch of stars in it.
What?
Mine just has hash marks and a bunch of stars in it.
Oh,
No
nice.
crackle.
Is
Dave
that a
Gibbons.
watch?
Yeah, Dave Gibbons wasn't a crackle guy.
Nah.
All right. I'm gonna show off the screen here. I got one shoe that I've been kind of going without reference to. The shoes are in the angle that I have drawn here. I'm not really sure if any of it makes sense. One of them looks fine. The other one I probably still have to do some work yet. As you'll see, I have not yet committed to the hair yet of Jack Kirby. Well, on here, let me turn it. There we go.
Looks good.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I still working on it yet, but yeah, this is where I just kind of went. I'm a fan of this shoe right here. I like that, but then this one I had to start making up things. I don't know where a sock ends and the shoe begins, so I got some work to do there. Yeah, but I was just kind of going a little crazy there. But yeah, anyways,
I know you've got your design already down, but are you familiar with the Kirby hand? And that's another thing, not just the Kirby crackle, but the Kirby hand.
oh yeah, this.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely
You
know
should
that.
you
Yeah,
should do
yeah.
the Kirby hand. Like the Kirby hand. What's his name? Eric Larson is famous for doing the Kirby hand like in the form of a fist, but the Kirby hand is another thing that he brought in is like this extreme perspective of like this giant hand in front of a character.
There's
Uh,
some
I,
photos. There's some photos
I
in All Got
invent the
Comics.
Kirby hand.
There it is. Yeah, that's a good idea.
A Kirby hand.
I'm
Kirby hand.
writing Kirby hand on my drawing because in post is when I'll finish everything and show it at the end. But Art Baltazar, whenever like taking a group photo at All Yeah Comics special event, he often tells everybody, "All right, now we took a smiley one. Now everybody Kirby hands," and then everybody does that, and just like that's a thing that Art always makes sure happens. And there's like I've been at events where Art's parents were there and stuff. So then Art's dad, original Art as he calls him,
Uh-huh.
is there too, just kind of laughing and holding out a Kirby hand and stuff too. But Brad Gullickson of the Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast, he's always a
Yeah.
very big Kirby hand guy when if he's taking fun con photos and stuff like that. That's like his go-to. He likes doing like some monster poses and stuff too, but he's real big with the Kirby hand. So yeah, I will.
There,
I will incorporate that into drawing.
their podcast is amazing, but
That
I
opening
think
theme song,
you
man.
told me about that.
Yeah, I mentioned.
Oh yeah, her doing the acapella from the X-Men
Oh,
cartoon.
it's so
That's
good.
awesome. I can't tell you how many times I've been at work and I've had it in my head.
I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly when I found out who they were, because when I was reading the Slott and Allred's version of the Silver Surfer, they had done issue number 100 for the Surfer, so they adapted the number into the current run that they were doing. And since I pulled out the omnibus because that was the most accessible to me at this point, I'm not sure where it is within the omnibus, so that's why I'm stalling for time here. Once I see an issue number here, okay, now I know where we're going. So I'm reading issue number 100 of the Silver Surfer issue, and once I get to the back of it, is when I gotta back up here. Now I gotta see if they even put it in this version, just because this is the collected version. So not that I'm looking for something that will never show up, because I think I'm in the issue right now. Basically, they were put into. Yep. Let me check back matter real quick. This is a great story, you guys. How are you enjoying it?
This sucks.
Rodgers, we're working on some fire there, some Johnny Storm. As I see if this thing is even printed in a collected edition, can you tell us how you feeling, and maybe zoom out and kind of see our progress here of our characters? How you liking it?
So far, so good. Let's get the color layer on. Woo! I work really disjointedly. So it's like I get bored doing pencils. Then I'm like, man, I want to ink this part. So then I'll ink it. And then I'm like, now I want to color that part. So then I'll color it. And then I'm like, now I want to work on another page of the book.
It's really stressful making comics with you. And you'll like send me the last page, and I'm still working on page 10 of the script. Then I remember he doesn't do it in order.
Nope. It all gets done though, at least. I got 20 days to finish up number 2. Did you see that previews is out? I didn't know that the book was out already.
Yeah,
Somebody,
I've got mine somewhere close by.
yeah, somebody shared a picture of all the Keen Spot stuff, and they name dropped everybody on it except for us. And I was like,
That-
but we're right there.
Will you
Daryl
cut
or
this?
Danny or someone.
Yeah, that was the Rebel Girls jungle drama guy.
Yeah. Which that's fine. I don't name drop anybody in it either.
Is this a John Suntress thing where he gave me the credit for Kid Slapshot? And I'm like,
That
I don't
was
see
cool
any
though.
feeding takes for Happy, but okay.
That was cool though, because you know what? I was listening to that and I'm like, hey, Happy or Kid Slapshot got mentioned on the Oh Yeah podcast. That's awesome. I didn't know who you were or
Yeah.
anything. I'm like, whoever the hell this Anthony guy is, you rock. I love that.
Because
I must have missed that episode.
Hey,
yeah, it was one of the live episodes for Oh Yeah Comics, but it was one of those where I realized I'm like, oh, they don't promote their work enough when they're talking because obviously they're just hanging out, so they're probably not in the mentality of saying, oh yeah, buy my book. So yeah, that's why I'm just like, hey, the Oh Yeah Comics audience should know about this, and then I threw that out there. And John's just like, oh, and Anthony Laatsch here is talking about there's variant covers for a Kid Slapshot that's in the previews, and it's like, is this Kid Slapshot? He's like, is this Anthony's book? Is you guys? And it was just kind of funny where I'm like, oh no, I wasn't saying that. I'm like, I'm just trying to promote Art and Franco's comics and Scoot. Anyways. Anybody want to say anything before we come back to the show?
yes, In Stock Trades has that omnibus for $62.
The Silver
It
Surfer
says
one?
it's it says it's $100 cover price. Is there, to your knowledge, since you're the Uber fan of the group, is that like go get it? Like if that's the one Silver Surfer thing you have on your shelf, that's the one to have on your shelf?
100%. To the extent I tell people when I'm so confident about it, it's easier to you because you're a comics reader already. But when I try to sell it to people who are new, I always say this where I'm like, buy it, and if you don't like it, you can sell it to me, and I'll just buy another omnibus, and I'll find a way to gift it and whatever. So it's weird for me to say like, yeah, I'll give the money back guarantee, and if you open it, being like, this thing sucks, this is trash. But so yeah, that's how much I care about this book, is that I offer a money back guarantee.
Dang. It's free shipping since it's over $50.
Yeah, and
So
that would be a second.
I'm gonna check.
That's a second printing because the first one just like sold out, and so yeah, this is a second printing, which I'm sure you don't care about. There are
Yeah,
people being like, second printing, I don't want that. So
That's the material.
yeah,
It's the material I want to read.
unless you want to pay $400 for a first printing, you could probably do that.
Nope.
So yeah, it's 29 awesome issues, and every November I do a reread of it, and I do an issue a day because there's a short story, so it's technically 30 days of 30 issues, and but yeah,
Mhm.
anyways, it's my favorite thing that's ever been. I say it's my favorite story. That includes movies and stuff too, where I'm like, this is my favorite story in general. So
More than Stardust?
more than Stardust, because I don't even know what you're referring to.
More than Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Honestly, yes.
More
much-
than Gilmore Girls?
Yep.
More than Riverdale?
Yep.
More than The Happy Astronaut? Oh,
What issue are you talking though? Issue 2?
man.
You better not say yes. Did you know Eric, my new he just turned 9, but like as an 8-year-old, he read Happy Astronaut and he's like, Daddy, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but this is better than Kid Slapshot. And I'm like,
I've heard you say that, yeah. I don't know if
dude,
yeah.
I felt so bad about that.
that is not cool. but I had to like pass it on because like he likes Kid Slapshot just because his father did it. But for Happy, he was like, "This is way better than anything I've ever read."
Okay.
Well, hopefully we don't disappoint him with the next one.
Okay, the thing I was looking for might not even be in the omnibus, so I will show the picture here. We're talking about comic book couples counseling podcast, and I first saw Lisa because she was dressed as Dawn Greenwood, the character that her and I both love from this series that's introduced into this version of the Silver Surfer from Slot and the All Reds, and her picture was taken and with a Silver Surfer cosplayer. And no, it wasn't Brad, but Brad took the photo. So here I am opening up this anniversary issue. It was either the 100th issue or the 50th anniversary. I forget which anniversary they were celebrating, but they printed it in the single issue comic. And I'm like, whoa, somebody dressed up as Dawn Greenwood. And I'm like, wow, the accuracy is great. She looks awesome. This is perfect. And then I saw the name and I started, being a creep. So I searched her and see if she was on Twitter, and then I found her, and then I found her and her husband, and I saw they do podcast and they love comics, and she's a Buffy fan and she loves Gilmore Girls, and like she's into drawing, and I'm just like, these two people are going to be my new best friends. And while we haven't met in person yet, but we will tend to share some things in private messaging and stuff if we're sharing experiences and things like that. And I've reached out to Lisa for a project that we have yet to publicly talk about. But it was because of the Silver Surfer. Now I assume I would have come across their podcast because it became very successful and seems to keep outdoing itself every year. But I was happy enough to find her through that photo that would happen to be printed, and she was flipping out because that's her favorite story too, and she was printed in a Marvel comic and blah blah blah. And so yeah, we were talking about the comic book couples counseling podcast, and we're all seem to be big fans of them, and it's great stuff they're doing over there. Check it out if this is your first or 12th time hearing us talk about it.
Yeah, I've only listened to a couple episodes of that show. They were really good though.
Heck yeah, they are. Well, I'm going to not draw the left, even though I think we're talking about hands earlier. Let me show this. This is the hand I did without any reference of Jack Kirby here. How do you guys? How's this hand looking?
That is a hand.
It is, yes.
So
It's not a Kirby hand.
no. So I wanted to show this. I have it on record because in order to have a Kirby hand, I'm gonna have to take that hand away. So I just wanted. I might be able to just crop it and twist it and turn it and bop it, shake it, bop it, and that's what I was going for. I was just waiting for any sort of no.
I'm having like a flashback of like a very stressful game. Pass it, bop it, twist it, turn it.
I want to say, I think there was an SNL sketch maybe recently where they had like a similar type of thing, but then I think it was like instructing to do very weird like demonic things or something, or like wait a minute, what? Like there was some sort of video I saw, and then it just turned into this crazy game. Just like, what does it want me to do? Like, how do you even do that? But anyways, I wanted to show proof of that, of the Jack Kirby hand that will eventually be turned into a quote unquote Kirby hand eventually, if I could pull it off. It's one of those things where I'm going to do a separate layer and see how it looks. And if I just can't pull it off, I will definitely take reference photos of myself, because for the position that we're seeing Jack in right now, I did take that photo minus the pipe, just to kind of get. I put a pencil in the hand because I wanted that kind of reference. So there is a picture of me. Maybe if I like the picture, I'll post it right now. If I don't like the photo of me, I will edit it down and show the parts I did like. That way, people can see what reference photos are sometimes too.
Yes,
I just
have. I got a couple of the omnibuses, the Captain America omnibus, and So Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, long before Marvel was a thing, they were doing Captain America comics back during World War II,
Yes.
and making huge sales in that. But I thought this was a neat thing. So we've seen this cover before of Tales of Suspense with Iron Man and Captain America, but I thought this was kind of neat. This is the first published Jack Kirby Marvel Captain America, which was pretty neat. And then
thing to show off.
So that's, I don't know what date that was, 60s, somewhere in the 60s. And then this thing, the Kirby Captain America Omnibus from the 70s, where so this doesn't show the creation of Falcon. Falcon's already a character here, but like the style that Kirby has just refined over this 10-year period. So in this, between these two periods, so you have the 60s period where he essentially created the entire Marvel universe. Then he left to DC, and he came back to the very thing that he started before Marvel even was a thing, with Captain America. It's just cool. I like these. Somewhere I have the black and white of like the timely Captain America, but I couldn't find it. I was looking for it.
I'd love to
but
get
where it was Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Huh?
I'd love to get an omnibus of like the original Nazi punching Captain America comics.
Yep.
But I don't know
I
if
have
that ever came
somewhere
out.
in a black. It's a black and white version, and it's impressive.
Is it an
It's
omnibus?
No, it was, trying to recall what it was called. It wasn't a Marvel Milestone because it was pre-Marvel. If I can find it, I'll send you an email with it. I'll keep looking. I know I didn't get rid of it. It's still somewhere around the house.
The only omnibuses I have are also Captain America, but it's the 5 of the Ed Brubaker run.
Those are really good too.
Those are really good. I love Ed
Yeah.
Brubaker.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get some Kirby. I'd like
Kirby.
Just go back and
Kirby's great. InStockTrades.com. If you can't find it on Amazon or eBay for a decent price, if it's in print or even the distributor has it. So In Stock Trades, if I'm not mistaken, is owned by the same folks that own DCBS and Lunar Publishing. So that's correct?
That is correct.
Or Lunar Distribution, excuse me. So they have a lot of really good prices. Like the Silver Surfer one that Anthony was talking about, I looked at it, is like $62 on there. And it's almost comparable on Amazon. It's $68 on Amazon. But it's, they probably, when Amazon is fluctuating and going up because they sold one issue, In Stock Trades will still be at 62.
I've seen trades on In Stock Trades for like $2 in years past, like just where they're clearance, but it's still like quality comics that they're just trying to get out of their warehouse or whatever.
Yeah. Kid Slapshot, they gotta get that crap out of there, man. It's like holding them back. I'm gonna put these back.
It's hard to tell based on when we hit record and if we had a late start to actually getting into the episode. I look at the time here. We have a 3-hour time limit, so I'm guessing there's at least 2.5 hours recorded material when it's all said and done. How you guys feeling right now? Matt Fife, how you feeling as far as your sketch? If you want to show that off, because I think the last time you showed it might have been when we weren't technically recording. So how do you
Yeah,
feel in there
we
with
saw his
your
big nipples.
Yeah, he's still got those big nipples. Yeah, it's good. I'm okay with it. I'm a
how did
rider.
you how did you end up doing the mouth? Are you able to get it a little closer at all to zoom in
Um,
without it disappearing?
let's see. Oh yeah, wait. There
Oh
we go.
yeah, there we go. Hold on. You'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
There we go. We
A
we got
second.
a little tease.
Nope. I'll
Yeah, we're seeing we saw some of it. So
it, it, I forget what I went off of. It looks like I went off my toy and one of the older reprints I have.
cool,
How
cool.
would you feel if I did like like a little tutorial how I do hands?
You
Because
asking me?
you said that you're gonna, well, just in general. So Rodgers mentioned he doesn't like to do hands. Anthony's gonna do his Kirby hand. I could I do hands very simplistically. Um, I could show how I do hands if you want,
Are you
where
saying
you can
right now
edit
or
all
for
this.
separate video?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah,
I've
do
a
already.
hand.
And
Show us
as
I
how
a
feel
to.
like I've.
and as a
It's
bonus, I could always take that out and include it in this episode and have it as its own little thing. So
You could. So the Kirby hand. How I don't. You know what I almost said? I almost said how Dad draws the Kirby hand. This this is my world, Dad.
did somebody say Stan?
I invented the hand. Before I came along, the hand was nothing more than a hoof.
That's why they call me Stan the Hand Lee.
That's right. All right. So for me, a hand is in shapes. So you have the base of the hand is just a rectangle. And I don't keep any lines perfectly straight. I keep them all curvy. So um so on that you have like a little piece of meat that comes out right here, and then you have your knuckles, right? And then fingers come out off of those and then comes out opposite right there. So that's the basis of how I draw a hand. And that can be done from any direction. So if you want to do like the Kirby hand, you start with that. You have your little chunk of fat meat, and I always do the fingers just curvy, what do you call it? Curvy rectangles or whatever. And then that is literally it, just like rectangles and sausages is how
When
I
you
draw
go,
hands.
but when you clean it up, you round them out, don't you? Or do you keep them?
He keeps them stubby.
I keep them stubby, so I would take hang on, let me get a brush pen. So this one right here, I would um just kind of go like that. I would add like a little impression of a knuckle. So it's obviously not a realistic hand. It's definitely a very cartoony hand, but it's a very simple way to draw them when you essentially you have a rectangle, a piece of meat stuck to the rectangle, and then the fingers are just other rectangles. And I try to keep them as, you know, by keeping it cartoony, if you have it skewed, it doesn't matter. It's not like you're trying, like if you were going to try to draw something very, like a very realistic looking hand, it matters, you know, how it looks. So you'd have like, and then even me trying to draw realistic looking hands. So, but point being, if you try for realism, then it sort of matters how you depict it. But if you intentionally keep it cartoony, it doesn't really matter. You know, you can just kind of do what you want. And even inside of this, you've got your rectangle, you've got your kind of triangular chunk of meat hanging off of it right here, and then each finger is just a curved, a curved rectangle coming off of it. And I do add like a little, if you wanted to, like in your diagram, draw like a circle or something to represent the knuckles or whatnot, you could. But the essence of it, curved knuckles, a chunk coming off of, well, it's not even showing, is it? Sorry. So rectangle, chunk coming off of the rectangle, and then knuckles from which the fingers grow. So thumb grows out of that chunk, fingers grow out of the knuckles. So that's a quick and dirty cartoon hand method.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you for sharing, and I think we should all give Troy a hand for that little tutorial. Thank you.
The way that I do my crappy hands is like, I just have a ball and I put where the fingers would be. So like, there's a finger, there's a finger, there's a finger. Get rid of this one and this one. And then the thumb. And I go, and then you got the thumb wrinkle. And then I start where that meets. And I go there. And I do that one. And I do that one. And then I put a big line there.
There you go.
Why do you call it a crappy hand though?
Well, that pose is fine, but let's say I want to get dramatic with it. And then we got, sometimes I'll draw like where the fingertips are first. So you can get kind of a thing. This is where it falls apart for me. Because I'm like, maybe. And then this line. It's mostly just the camera angles that screw me up.
I don't think it looks bad.
I'm not good at different angles. So then when you ink that, you have your, oh, that's still my pencil, stupid Rodgers. So you got the finger, finger, finger. And then I guess that's where that line goes. And we got the thumb. And then we got the hand. Yeah, I'm just, it's one of those things where I'm never satisfied with how it ends up looking unless it's just a wide open hand.
Yeah, but you're like saying it's your crappy hand and then you draw two decent looking hands.
See, I don't think this one is decent looking. There's something off about it. I used to draw them even more circular. Like I would actually draw a circle and I would just put like these little fingers on it.
Uh-huh.
And that's what his hands looked like in the first issue that your son is a big fan of.
Well, see, like what you're talking about, like one with a little bit of energy or whatever.
Yeah.
Almost like a claw or whatever. I would do it just like in pencil, but I would still use that basic shape. So I would still have like the triangle coming off, the chunk of meat, like the triangular chunk of meat, and then the sausage fingers. And I would just draw right through the sausage fingers. And then whenever I took my ink, I would determine All right, so there's your chunk. What do you call it? Your thumb fat or whatever.
Yeah.
Stick with my stick with that, and then go back there. Got the pinky, since that's going to be in the front of that, and then that, and then that.
See, one thing that's helpful for me is I spent some money on this thing called oh shoot, what are they called? Stick. Has the word stick in it. But it's like this, it's meant for stop motion. It's this little human, and he has all the bend spots that a human has.
Joints.
Yeah, all those bend spots.
Bent spots.
He has a cool face. So you can like pivot it and all around. But my favorite part of him is his little hands actually have like fingers that are jointed. So you can make them do stuff. Woo! I don't know
Is
how
that
to
what-
turn that.
Is that why you always draw just 3 fingers? Because your
That's what-
model has 3 fingers?
No, that's just laziness because I have this here too.
Oh, okay.
This is a really nice desk decoration.
Now,
We after we finish, my son and I are gonna put together the Iron Man Lego Infinity Gauntlet.
nice.
Yeah. So I'm fully expecting every time I go into that room that it's gonna have like the middle finger sticking up.
Well, as you guys were showing off your examples, I was kind of lightly working on. It's hard because I can't connect right away, so I just have to show you the final result. But just got it. But yeah, I also drew the hand as well. So this is kind of what I came up with. Here's my
Shut
drawing.
up, Ed.
My drawing of the hand. I'll wait for Fife to see my drawing of the hand, and then the joke will be over.
It's okay.
That's my drawing
That's
of
a
the
good
hand.
There's room for improvement. Maybe you could schedule like some one-on-one sessions with Troy,
Maybe.
and he can teach you how to do hand stuff.
I actually thought demonstrating how I draw hands would be way easier than it was. I don't think it was probably helpful at all. But
It
I
was-
like in my mind it's super simple because it's just basic shapes that, you know.
Right.
When I've had time and I've been drawing and I've been watching some YouTube videos trying to learn basics, and they
Mhm.
always go with everything is a shape, like, or a combination of shapes. So that helped me. So the way of you drawing the hand actually was helpful. I didn't draw along or anything because I'm drawing Doctor Doom
And his giant nipples.
and his
See, the
giant
problem
nipples.
the problem I have personally with the everything as a shape, when I look at it like at that level, I lose like perspective as far as like proportions. So if I try to add a hand in that way, then suddenly the hand is like way too big. That's just a problem that I always run into, because I mean I'll break stuff down, like drawing Happy, like I draw the little skeleton or whatever, and then I'll draw his neck, and I always put his collar, and that's where I base where his shoulders are. And then he has his little backpack straps, and then that bleeds there, and he has his patch, and then I'll throw in his wrinkles, and that's about where his belt would be. Boop 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 boop. And then he has, based on where his shoulders are, that's how I put his backpack in there. And then I do the little ball joint for where his shoulders are. So I mean, like, when I break it down like that, it's like I still use the shape thing to a degree, but as far as like making his hands, like I just can't do it that way. Like my brain can't allow it for some reason.
Try it on a separate layer. Try drawing the giant Kirby hand like overlapping.
Here we go. Here we go. All right, so you have, we'll do this one in blue. All right, so his wrist comes through right around here. And it's like that. And then there's a chunk of meat.
Yeah.
And then you have the knuckles. I'm doing your straight ones.
My lazy fingers. You do that better than me. Look at you.
But see, okay, now then I'll delete that layer and I'll make a new, well, I hid it. I didn't delete it. Don't worry. So the way that I would do it,
Sorry. What color do we think Dr. Doom's eyes are? Are they blue or are they green? They're probably green. Pretty green eyes. Brown.
Sounds right.
Poopy brown.
and so you can see like the size difference in the hands. It's something that I just need to like practice, I guess. But you ready for my favorite part?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. The swoosh.
And then I've been doing these new eyebrows where I make them like kind of triangles. I love it. Oh no, he's missing one of his ear covers.
I always love seeing like floating eyebrows and like things like that.
And
Same,
his
Anthony. Same.
lip line and his shadow.
Dennis the Menace, I think he's got some floating eyebrows, maybe.
Hey, Mr. Wills. I could watch people draw, like the drawing videos. I could watch that stuff all day long.
Okay, Captain America.
I could do this all day.
And then you just put like he's standing behind like a bush. And then you don't have to draw his legs.
There you go. That's another Rob Liefeld trope, right?
Yeah.
Not just pockets, the aversion to drawing feet.
There was one.
I feel like feet are harder to draw than hands are.
I have a really hard time with the proportions of a lower body.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can draw the top half just fine, and then I'll be like, all right, so this is about how big his hips are. There's where his legs would be. And then I'm like, that's where his feet go? No. That's where his knees are.
That looks perfectly placed.
But then when you draw in the like details of it, these are like way too they're way too stubby. So I usually cheat and I'll be like, well, I do have, where is it? Where is it? Right here. Drag and drop this. All right, so now I have this 3D model. And I can make him way skinnier. There we go. Yeah. That could be like What's up, dog? Pose it.
It's so freaking awkward. what is up, dog? What is up? I do not know. Let's see. I'm trying to get the lighting. I'm just doodling along with you at this point. Let's see.
So you're telling me to make Kirby Crackle, all I do is make dots?
Exactly.
For me, the secret for doing Kirby Crackle is you're actually more mindful of the not black part.
Negative space.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've learned is like, because if you focus too much on just like the black dots, then you just end up with kind of like a black cloud.
Gotcha. So I'll work away from my character towards it. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I watched a tutorial on how to do it because I downloaded a brush for it and it didn't work very well. But they'll say like, okay, so you have a planet, and then you draw like the energy that's shooting out of it, and you draw like that. So then you use this and you draw.
I just had an idea. When I get to it, I won't do it on this episode, but I was gonna just have some smoke coming out of the pipe. What if it's Kirby Crackle coming out of
Ooh, yeah.
That works. That would be cool.
I'm doing it.
I'm
Not,
trying
not on this episode, but I'm doing it.
I used to have Kirby Crackle. Is it patterns? Is it a pattern? I might have deleted the brush because it sucked. That's way too small. Artificial. Hey man, you want some windows?
Hey man.
I drew some windows. You want some more
man.
windows? Check this out. I don't know why that's just black. Now I know why. Oh, it's windows. You want a destroyed city, Anthony?
Oh, that's right. He's going. I want the money brush.
Oh,
Call back to the money brush episode.
and it's all behind a chain link fence. You want some noisy spray paint? Oh,
Who doesn't? So I think we're gonna work towards. Even though Troy, I saw him like getting ready and he's doing something else now. Just for the sake of the recording, we can always hang out afterwards. But just for the length of the episode, looking at where we're at, we might be having a long one here, but I think it's deserving of Jack Kirby and all the things that we've been drawing and talking. I'm doing a super quick color mock-up of my thing because I'm going to be one arm missing because I'm going to adapt that Kirby hand idea that should definitely be part of this drawing. So I'm doing a quick color mock-up to kind of give a little tease until the post editing shows the real thing. Jumping over to Fife, you're working on some details to finish up your card, or where you sitting? As we kind of maybe do our final pass here, I would say, for the audience until we show the finished work at the very end.
Yeah, I'm like failing at this, but okay.
I'm trying to find pictures of Jack Kirby so I can just like look at his color choices for outfits, but I just keep finding so many black and white photos.
This is my doom.
There he is.
I like it.
it's a good doom.
Yeah, I like it.
And then you're adding Kirby Crackle in the background there, I see.
Yeah, and it may just become a black background if I don't like it.
I
That's Todd McFarlane, man. When in doubt, black it out.
I did actually I got it on my phone because I've been working on sketch cards. At the time this releases, we're at the end of Archie Art August. And so I have a lot of Archie art cards through my @Anthony Laatsch page, LAATSCH. Also represented through hashtag Archie Art Challenge on Instagram. And I did one, and my aunt Sue, who may or may not be watching, uh, she had asked if I was selling one. I'm like, well, I'm trying to build these up to put them at MightyCon, which is happening in a couple days from when this drops. And but I'm like, you know what? I'll recreate it. I'll do another Veronica here. And I accidentally made a dot with my Sharpie on what was going to be a black and white and then all white background. And I'm just like, oh shoot, I made a dot, and I was getting ready to reach for the whiteout. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'll just make more dots. So I don't have the physical with me because that is in her possession. I'm going to turn my brightness down a little bit here, see if it shows up. Nope. Hold on here. Where are we? Here we are. Let's see if it shows up here. You can sort of see it. Yep. So I made one tiny dot by mistake, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just make about 30 more dots, and then I made it part of the background. So
It
That
looks
works.
very good.
yeah, I'll put the final image of that on the post so it's easier for without glares and such. But
So I've had this idea. Do I have a minute? Does
yeah,
anybody care? Would anybody else be interested if
I'm
Marvel
good.
decided
Oh,
to? They never will, but I would love for them to go back and start releasing every single one of the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, those early years of Marvel, re-releasing them in the order they were released. So start with Fantastic Four #1, and then the next month, whatever it came out, the next month, whatever came out, and just let me buy them dirt cheap
yeah.
and donate it to like the Hero Initiative.
Ooh. There we
Yeah,
go.
I just came up with that right now. But then we could go back and enjoy all this whole universe as it was building, because I don't know if that's like an obsession of mine, is like watching things build comic book wise.
Sure.
But they could be dirt cheap, or they could be, how much are comics now? $5?
Anywhere from 4 to 5 for a single issue, standard pages.
Let's go with 4. Decent paper or newsprint, I don't care. And just re-release all of it. Even the issues that like are bad, even the series that like nobody talks about. Release it all in the order and let me just enjoy it until I die.
I thought it was a great idea when The Walking Dead wrapped up, and then it wasn't too long that they were like, "Hey, we're gonna just go through the entire run again, but give you the colored versions."
Oh
Which
yeah.
And that
like,
was the second time, because remember they also did The Walking Dead Weekly, where they were
Yeah.
reprinting them from #1 black and white, but they were coming out every week.
oh, I didn't know that.
Like, geez, we get it. We get it, Robert.
Let's jump over to Rodgers if you kind of want to give us because this will be our stopping point for the episode to kind of show us where we're at. You know, the viewers will see the final version in the credits.
Maybe.
Maybe if you finish it, unless it's still a work in progress, which happens. I'm just finishing up my quick color mock-up to really see things happen. But let's how you feeling about this Fantastic Four without reference piece? I love
love
that
it.
thing. I keep going back to that thing.
I even
It's
gave him his blue eyes.
Old Blue Eyes,
Yeah.
isn't that was his nickname, right?
I don't,
I
maybe.
think that was Frank Sinatra.
Well, I
I think
think
it's both.
yeah, I think
Oh,
it's definitely something where yeah, I think so. I don't know, whatever. And Petunia, whatever.
I never read the Fantastic Four.
Clobber in time.
I have some
I didn't.
Mike Ringo issues on their way to me. I'm gonna read those.
those those black and white reprints that Marvel put out that were really awesome. That's just like
Oh,
a
the
big,
essentials.
yeah, like a phone book.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been picking those up randomly. They're going up in value a lot. So it kind of sucks because you'll find one, you'll be like, oh man, that'd be fun to read. And then you'll look and it's like $10 or $20 at a used bookstore. And I'm like, that's too expensive. But I have like the first volume of Chris Claremont's X-Men run.
Oh, cool.
And I think I might have picked up a Fantastic Four. I just don't know.
I think I was with you when you did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure yay, there they are. I found them.
So some of those, it's black and white, and it's just straight black and white, and they're great. And others, it's grayscale, and they suck. They're all muddy and terrible looking.
Fantastic
You got the.
Four.
That's a sign. Is that a Simonson one?
Volume 1. It is. It just says Stan Lee and Jack Kirby on the front.
Okay, so not
It
Simonson.
has Fantastic Four number 1 through 20 and annual number 1.
Neat.
Yeah, but this is the one you were talking about. This is just straight black and white. There's no toning in there or anything.
Yeah, those when they do it like that, those are great books.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want more of them. And I don't think they make them anymore. And the ones that I've been finding are like, here's the Hulk volume 1, $35. And I'm like, for newsprint?
They switched it to the Epic collection. It's the same idea, but now they're in color. And they're like, I don't know how much, but $40 each or something.
They're
That's
pricey. Yeah.
Too much.
They are.
And then DC, they did their version.
I have a whole shelf of those. The Showcase Presents.
Yeah, I found one for Aquaman. It was
Yeah.
like Aquaman Volume 1. I was like, that'd be cool just to like have reference for underwater stuff. And it was at half-price books. It was like $40.
Really? I got Aquaman Volume 1 Showcase Presents.
Right. You can trade it in. You'll get like $15 for it.
I might just sell it.
15
I
bucks,
will.
little man. Put that. Wait a minute.
Yeah, don't do that.
Money in my hand.
Okay, I'm gonna jump over to mine here.
This looks more like cow print now.
It does look like cow print. This is my
Victor
over
Von
20.
Moves.
check out this first pick, the first page. They black and whited it so hard that you can't even tell what anything is.
Oh, wow.
Groovy. Did you call him Victor Von Moobs?
No, just Moo, but you made it better now. So
Oh, okay.
Moves.
Victor Von Moobs is kind of great. Like if they ever relaunch like the Spider Ham universe, they should have Victor Von Moobs.
See, that's the kind of stuff that down the road they need to hire me and Fife to do, because we got the cartoon style. Just let us have the Tooniverse of Marvel.
I think you guys would do awesome with that. Oh, excuse me.
Don't yawn.
I'm sorry, boys.
Okay, you're old.
I know.
I'm just gonna go with this cow print design. Isn't Latveria got farms and stuff on it? He's on the farm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He's milking some cows.
I dig it. Can you have a whiteout pen? You want to give him a milk mustache on his mask there?
I do have some whiteout.
Okay. Here's the color mock-up of Jack Kirby. I did a quick mock-up of the Kirby crackle out of the pipe. I'm going to do a Kirby hand as Troy suggested, but here is a little idea of what the final could look like for Jack Kirby on the surfboard.
Looks good so far, bud.
I love the crackle coming out of his pipe.
Yeah, so that's cool.
And then I figured I was just going to get him some real old guy pants once I do the designs and stuff. So like he's got like golf pants on.
Some slacks.
Yeah, just like get a nice good pattern on there. But yeah, that's that, and then you'll see the final version in the credits. Troy, if you want to hold up your surfer, and I didn't actually get a good look of that other thing you started doing. Was it anything, or were you just doodling?
It was
I was
Beta
just
Ray
doodling.
Bill.
Oh, geez.
I doodled Thor, but my marker was dying on me while I was doodling, so the line quality is not that wonderful.
He's got
I see
multiple.
so much giffing in your work.
Oh, thank you. And then here's my surfer.
That's a good surfer.
Beautiful.
Let's see if I can.
Oh yeah.
Anthony was telling a story, and I just got to sit there and listen to Anthony and watch you do your hatch marks, and that was fun. It was hypnotizing.
Hatch marks are fun to draw. You can't mess up a hatch mark. Just
Oh yes, you
Give me a
can.
chance.
Okay, so before we end this episode about Jack Kirby, we do have one piece of fan mail I wanted to go out on this note, because while we talked a lot of superhero stuff, we didn't dive into a lot of the other stuff that Kirby has done. Because when you really go into it, any topic we talk about, it's a multiple episode topic to return to, and we just can never capture everything. But Katie, who is from the Crimson Cowell Comic Club, my friend over at the comic club, she wrote in when I asked about if anybody wanted to share what they love about Jack Kirby. And Katie wrote his range, example being westerns, romance, space opera, and iconic superheroes. The range of the different storytelling that he's done, because yeah, he's definitely done all like the romance. He's done it all basically, doing every like genre of comics, and maybe some get to do that as a writer, dipping in and out of that stuff, but maybe you don't see that a lot. And so she really loves his range. And then she had one extra note saying, plus he created Groot. So yeah, the Tales, I think from Tales from Astonish or Tales to Astonish, from Planet X is Groot, and it's a giant monster Groot, image and stuff. But yeah, Jack Kirby is credited as the artist and co-creator of Groot. So that was Katie's
well, that's cool.
message there for this Jack Kirby episode.
I had no idea.
So is there another artist that has that kind of range?
It's a great
Or is
question.
he in sort of rarefied air?
So if I look at like All Red, who's one of my favorites here, definitely does a lot of superheroes. Romance is thrown into his superheroes, so he hasn't really done straight on romance. Yeah, I don't think All Red lives in the superhero sci-fi world mostly. He's done some biography stuff, and the Bowie illustration book, and illustrated. There's a word I'm looking for, like biography or something. But yeah, I don't think he would have really worked in a specific thing. I can't think of anyone else off the just some of my favorite people, but
Think of like from the romance standpoint, John Romita Jr. pops out, or I'm sorry, John Romita Sr. jumps out to me, and he almost made Amazing Spider-Man a romance comic. Certainly, that's one of the more appealing elements of the Amazing Spider-Man once he took over.
sure.
But I don't know, like, can't think of westerns. He may have done them. I just don't. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
How
That he
about
did.
Darwin Cook?
You know who has the equivalent range of Kirby is or who had, he's passed, Joe Kubert.
Hmm.
He had that range. He did everything from Tarzan to Adam Strange, and he did westerns, Sergeant Rock. He did war. He did medieval. He did. I think he would be the closest thing that I can think of to the range that a Jack Kirby had.
Definitely. And Matt, Fife, you said Darwin Cook. You threw. I heard you
Yeah,
say.
but then Troy just kept listing all these Joe Kubert accomplishments. And it was like, well, Darwin did superheroes, and he did crime, and he did Western, and maybe there was a romance thing thrown in there that kind of sci-fi, but his career was a lot shorter than Kubert's.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we listed some good examples that would kind of fit to Kirby's range and all that stuff to complement. So yeah, I think that will do it. When I'm going to get to the end here, I just kind of want to do some quick plugs that I did prepare. Because this is going to drop. Troy had walked out when I was kind of forgot to mention this up top early in the show, like 12 hours ago. That this is going to be dropping on the 106th birthday of Jack Kirby. So that is August 28th is when this episode's going to drop to celebrate his what would have been his 106th birthday. And then once again, giving a shout out to bevcam.org for Beverly, Massachusetts, for putting us on the local public access, and hopefully everything that we said here was educational. Even some of the whenever we looked at the Doctor Doom sketch and would comment on certain aspects of it, hopefully all of that too was very educational. But yeah, so
we still have time to make it educational. Now you see, kids, the reason Doctor Doom has nipples to begin with is because in the now I'm gonna stop.
I was about to eject you from the Zoom room here. So here we go. If you're new to this, please give us a subscribe on YouTube. That's the only way to consume this show. It's not an audio version, it's just a video podcast, show, whatever you want to call it. We encourage people to watch and draw along. Some people do that, so it's always fun to hear that this show can be that for them as we kind of ramble on. So yeah, subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications and hitting like and stuff like that is all very helpful to help the channel grow. At the time, we do have Rebel Girls is out. Just to advertise some plugs for our comic readers here, I happen to be showing off the cover that Troy did for Rebel Girls from Keen Spot. And what's very fun, this will be a live unpaging. Is that a thing? A live unpaging. It won't show any story pages of Rebel Girls. But Happy Astronaut happens to have an ad here in this issue. And what's awesome about that in itself is great. But you go to the back page for the Keen Spot news box, and there's some advertisements for Jungle Drama, a brand new comic that Troy did the writing duties on and assembled an awesome art team, which at this point, hopefully, as long as the schedule stays on, should be an interview on Crimson Cowl Comic Club, assuming things. We're recording this in ahead of time, so hopefully that happens. And then right below that is a Happy Astronaut ad. So that's definitely cool. And then when you look over here, you have Kid Slapshot versus the Lunatic, if you will. And yeah, so there's a lot of awesome stuff happening on that back page. So Rebel Girls is out now. Check that out with a cover here by Troy. And just because I have it here, but Danny Harrell, which I assume is how you pronounce it, Robert Ahmad, and Matt Kreutzer, possibly. So yep, that is out there. Happy Astronaut #1 comes out in just 2 days from when we drop this episode. So August 30th, check out Happy Astronaut #1, which Troy has a variant for as well. Out on September 13th, assuming the dates don't change, but Greenhorns #1, Troy has a cover for. Kid Slapshot versus the Lunatic. How should I say it?
I just say the Lunatic.
Okay,
because the guy's name,
yeah.
Yeah, the guy's name is Lou. Looky
Yeah.
Lou is his name. And so it's actually, in the very first Kid Slapshot comic, he calls himself the Lunatic. He says, I'm going to transform from Lou to the Lunatic. I'm going to go get Kid Slapshot. And this episode he doesn't even ever refer to himself as the lunatic, but it just is a much nicer title than versus Looky Loo.
Yeah.
So
The lunatic. So yeah, with the hyphen, and I wasn't sure if it's like a Frank N. Stein type of deal where you exaggerate the fact that it's lunatic. So the
Yeah.
lunatic. Good.
It's fine.
So Kid Slapshot versus the Lunatic on September 20th, Jungle Drama on October 11th, Fife and Rodgers, obviously Happy Astronaut #1 on August 30th, Happy Astronaut #2 on October 25th. And then Rodgers has a Kid Slapshot versus the Lunatic cover for that September 20th date there. And then Cincinnati Comic Expo, September 22nd through the 24th, to see the mats over there with Happy Astronaut #1 will be in their hands and advertise it there. There'll be some prints as well. And then just a couple days from when this drops, I will be at MightyCon September 2nd. That's my little plug there. You can also find me at McDonald's getting Happy Meal toys for the Marvels. I'm going to collect all those Happy Meal toys, so that's where you can find me. Oh, as well as Crimson Cowl Comic Club, crimsoncowl.com, and all that fun stuff. So I wanted to give those plugs because you guys got a lot of stuff coming out between issues and covers, and there's a lot of fun happening in August and September. So some pretty big
Yeah.
months.
And I think in September is when Squish and Squash #1 comes out, and I have a cover that I did for them as well.
Lovely. Yes, that one I'm definitely that I feel like that's something I would have gotten anyways because I like that title and the design of those characters, and then it's even further incentive when I see there's a Rogers cover. So I just had to put them on my list along with Troy and Jenny Frizen and Jen Bartel and Mike Allred and Laura Allred. So you guys are right up there with my go-to cover artist that I gotta buy all the time.
Oh,
Damn.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
that is going to do it. Hopefully,
you
everyone
broke.
had a great time watching along as we talked about Jack Kirby based off of stories that we've heard from other people talking about Jack Kirby because we weren't there in the bullpen, but I think we did okay. Showed off some awesome art. Thank you for checking this out. And oh, I just happened to look over here as I clear the Kirby crackle out of the way and all the cigar smoke, but I see the sun is starting to come up, so I guess it's time to get back to our day jobs.